Whether the team is giving us the highest of highs or the bluest of blues, we'll cover it all here on Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So Brian Robinson practiced today for the first time since his incident in late August that required him to be put on the PUP list when he was shot twice in a botched robbery. We thought that could be the end of his season. Honestly, we weren't even thinking about football when this first, hit. We were just thinking about his livelihood, or rather his life, and, visions of Sean Taylor and how that situation unfolded, started to come rushing back in terms of memories for some of us as fans. And just hearing that he was okay, it was non-life threatening. That's all that we cared about at the time. Then once you got past that, you see him back in the facility, you start to hear that, hey, missed all of the ligaments, missed any, real damage being done. And he's really not only fortunate to be alive, but he's fortunate that everything's relatively intact. He's just got a hole in his leg, essentially. And you're like, wow, okay. Well, what does that mean for a timetable? Don't know. Could be, second half of the season, could be latter portion of the season, could miss this whole entire year still. Who knows? And then you start to hear rumblings and grumblings about this guy is coming along. He's hit this benchmark. He's hit this next mark. He's hit this next benchmark. And now you're like, maybe he'll be ready by the time he's able to come off the PUP list. And so I think part of the problem with this entire situation is that if we were 3-1 right now, things were going well, there would be no rush for Brian Robinson to be back. The fans wouldn't be clamoring for him. Organizationally, I think Ron and company would still like to have him back, but they wouldn't be pressing, to have him back in the lineup. I think as fans, a lot of people are putting a lot of stock into Brian Robinson coming back. And I've already told you guys this. I told you this 2 weeks ago. If I'm Ron, he's not playing this week. Okay, this is my personal opinion. I don't know what they're going to do exactly. I don't think he plays this week against Tennessee. Here's my personal opinion. Okay, I don't think he plays this week because of the quick turnaround for Thursday Night Football and what that could mean for a guy who hasn't played football since the preseason, who's coming back from an injury that is unique because it's not a normal football injury. He got shot. There is no manual. There is no, here's a situation. Here's what this guy did. There's none of that. This is a very unique circumstance. Ron has said it himself. I've never dealt with this in all of my years as a player or a coach. I've never seen anything like this before. So there's no way to handle this in a way that there's already been precedent set. So this is a unique case. And so because of that, you don't run around, because of what Brian Robinson could potentially mean for this team, not just this year, but moving forward, you don't want to rush this. Okay. And so I don't think he's going to play this week. I'm just going to be honest with you. A lot of people have already wrapped their brains around him coming back this week, him being a savior this week, him helping turn this season around. And first of all, I think a lot of you are putting too much stock into Brian Robinson's impact on this football team. Brian Robinson is one man. Brian Robinson doesn't tackle. Brian Robinson doesn't block, at least not as a run blocker, and he's not a offensive lineman. He doesn't pass protect in that regard. He does pass protect as a running back on third downs if he's in the game, or if it's a pass play and he's in, and his job is to block before he goes out into his pass route. But he doesn't do all of the other things. He's not playing against other teams' wide receivers. He's not in coverage. Brian Robinson is a running back. Okay. And while he may absolutely help this football team with his skill set that he brings to the table, and we already gotten a glimpse of Brian Robinson's impact of what it could potentially be in the preseason against Carolina, against Kansas City. He keeps this offense on schedule. But guess what? Brian Robinson could keep this. Look, we were on schedule against Dallas last week. And then it was a Sam Cosmi false start. And then it was a Carson Wentz intentional grounding. And then it was a Carson Wentz sack. And then it was another Sam Cosmi false start. And then we weren't on schedule anymore. So he can't control that. He can only go out and get 8 on first down and make it 2nd and 2. Or he can only go out on 2nd and 10 and get 6 and make it 3rd and 4. But if Sam Cosmi jumps false start on 3rd and 4 and makes it 3rd and 9, Brian Robinson can't help you there, can he? Now, again, that hasn't been a problem with this team. And I've said this already. I'm not going to make the penalties a problem because since Ron has gotten here, penalties haven't been a big issue for this team. That's not a symptom of a Ron Rivera coach football team, okay? He's not a guy that has problems with discipline in terms of penalties with his teams over the years, going all the way back to Carolina and the 3 years thus far, or the 2 and some change that he's been here in Washington. That hasn't been a big problem. You know, here and there, every now and again, it rears its ugly head, but it's not something that we consistently gripe about as fans. I think that Dallas game was a one-off, and I think that was a officiating staff that was just awful, honestly speaking. They missed a lot of shit in that game. That wasn't a good staff. And so I look at it like this. You got 2 games in the span of 5 days. Brian Robinson is just coming off of the PUP list. I think he misses the Titans game. I think they play him against Chicago. If you want my personal opinion, he plays on Thursday night. That's his NFL debut. And the beauty of him playing in that game, and which is why I think it makes the most sense, and this is why I think they're going to do it this way, is because then you have that pseudo bye. After he plays on that Thursday night, it's not the regular, 6 days of rest, and then boom, you're back at it on that 7th day. He gets the rest for 9 days, okay? And then on the 10th day, he's back at it again. Let me count. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah. So it's an extra 3 days. So I think they're going to take advantage of that pseudo bye in week 6 against Chicago after that game. And that'll allow him to have the extra recuperation time that he needs, just in case we don't know what he's really like. He practiced today and he had on pads, but did he really take hits today? No, not really. They're not trying to beat the kid up. This is his first time back out there. They were just happy to have him going out on the field and practicing at full speed, going through these drills. And he got in there a couple of times, probably in team periods. But again, he's not getting battered and bruised around. Not like he will in an NFL game where the players on the opposite side don't give a damn about you or your leg or you being shot. They're trying to take your head off. So I think he's going to need some extra time after that first game. He's going to be extra sore, which is why I think it makes the most sense to bring him back after the week 6 game against Chicago. So I'm banking, in my mind, I'm banking on him not being active against Tennessee. They've got 21 days until they have to make a decision. I don't think they pull him off of which is why he's not on the injury report. I don't think they pull him off of that thing until next week, prior to the Chicago game, and then we see him for the first time. And that's when we'll get to see what they've envisioned with this team when they got him and when they got into the preseason and when Antonio Gibson fumbled against Carolina and when they stuck him in there and when they saw the results and when they started thinking about these are all the things we can do now that Antonio's no longer our bell cow. I think you're going to start to see that stuff in week 6, not week 5. So the question then becomes, what are you going to do this week? Because you still got to try to beat the Tennessee Titans. That's a great question. Now, here's something else I want to kind of throw out there. Ron talked, and I'll save that for when we get to what Ron talked about at the podium today. We heard from him. We heard from Carson, heard from some players in the locker room. Obviously, we heard from Brian Robinson himself. This is the first time anyone has heard from him from a media standpoint since, that fateful day in August, that fateful Sunday late in August. so glad that he's okay and he's in great spirits. I actually felt like the press conference, it wasn't cringeworthy, but you could see, and he even said it, but these, the reporters don't care about this. They have a job to do. And while I don't like the fact that they have to bring it up, that's part of their job. They have to ask. This is their first time having an opportunity to speak with him, so they want to know these things. But he's like, I don't really want to keep talking about the past. Like, again, remember I told you with Brian Robinson, there's also a mental component to this. The man got shot. He doesn't want to keep reliving, the day that he went to go get food and he's going to his car and two young punks roll up on him, and pull out a gun and say, hey man, run me them keys. And he's like, hell nah. And he gets shot twice. Like, he doesn't want to keep reliving that shit over and over in his head. That's not something you want to keep replaying over and over again. And so when they keep asking him questions about that, how did you feel? Did you think your career was over? In that moment, were you even thinking about football? He's like, bro, I really just want to talk about moving forward. I really don't want to keep talking about the past. But hopefully this was a one and done situation. He's answered all their questions that they had about, what happened and his mindset then, and, how he's feeling now. And then hopefully he can just move forward after this. We'll see. But all in all, I think Brian Robinson is going to make a difference. For those of you that think he won't make a difference, you're fooling yourself. He will. But I don't think it's fair. Just like I've said with Chase Young, I don't think it's fair for you to put a lot. Now, this is a little bit different than Chase Young. Chase Young had structural damage to his knee and had multiple surgeries to his knee. It was a unique set of circumstances. And if what we've been told is correct, that he also ruptured his patella, that means his kneecap, the tendon behind his kneecap was also ruptured and severed. So his Chase Young situation, totally different than Brian Robinson's. But I liken it to that situation, that don't expect Chase Young to come back and move mountains and walk on water, right? Like, expect Chase Young to come in and be a solid contributor, and anything you get from him above just coming in and being an upgrade over Casey Toohill and James Smith-Williams is icing on the cake initially. Brian Robinson comes in, and I think he's going to be really good for us. And I think if he's the guy that we saw in the preseason, he's going to help this offense be more dynamic in the run game. That said, and it's going to free up Antonio Gibson to be more dynamic as a playmaker and being put in different positions. But let's not make it out to be this situation like Brian Robinson's a quarterback and that he's going to alter the outcome of this season by touching the football on every single snap. Like, he doesn't have the impact of a quarterback. He can help, but just be mindful that there's only so much he can do. I do want to say this before we move on. Had a chance to watch the film. If you're a member of the MOBB, a gold member, that film is up and it's available for you to check out. What I'm going to try to do moving forward, and I don't really know, and maybe I need to look at the numbers to see how many gold members there are. But what I'm going to try to do in the future is do these film breakdowns a little bit later on in the evening, towards the nighttime, so that more of you can participate. And, if there's no participation at night, that's fine too. I'll just do them during the day like I did this time. And then you just go and watch it whenever it's convenient for you. But I had a chance to watch the film. I just want to give you a couple of tidbits. I'm going to do a studs and duds for the mob, and that'll be out tomorrow. But after watching the film, I told you I was going to feel more confident, and I do. It's frustrating, though, because you see little things that are so fixable, that are avoidable. Like, we shouldn't even be making these mistakes. And it frustrates me because they're unnecessary errors that don't have to be made. but yet we're making them. And so, it begs the question, is this a coaching problem? Or are guys simply not executing the right way? They get in the game and they lose their mind and they're not executing in the manner that we need them to. I'll give you a great example. We throw a screen to Jahan Dotson on a 3rd down and long. And during the film breakdown, I'm bitching and complaining about how many teams throughout the course of the week I've watched and they get into a 3rd and long. I mean, a great example is Monday Night Football. How many times did the 49ers get in 3rd and 14, throw a screen to Deebo Samuel and get a first down? How many times did the Rams get into 3rd and 15, throw a screen to Cooper Kupp and get a first down? I watched so many teams get into these 3rd and ridiculously long situations, catch a team in a look, or don't even catch them in a look. Just throw a screen, they execute properly, get a couple of guys out in front, and boom, voila. 17-yard gain on 3rd and 15, first down. We get into a similar situation, and we can barely get 5 yards. Why? Because somebody doesn't do their job. One thing that you see is our linemen stay on it. First of all, our linemen aren't as athletic, which is why Sadiq Charles is a sight for sore eyes. Oh, my God, what a difference he makes. He's so athletic. He can move. There were a couple of plays where he actually saves Carson Wentz because of his athleticism. He's going to do wonders for us on the offensive line. What were they waiting on is the question that I have. But anyway, we throw a screen to Jahan Dotson. Our linemen take entirely too long to release to get out to block. Like, you're not supposed to be blocking the guys in front of you for but a fraction of a second. Honestly, you just want to push them in their back. Take, like Trent Williams on screens, all he used to do is he would take one big-ass paw, slap the shit out of somebody's back, push them as hard as you could, and just get out there. Because, again, you're not trying to block that guy. Your job is to get out in front of this screen and make something happen. Our guys are in here blocking like they're blocking, and Carson's taking a 5-step drop. Get out of here, man. Let that guy through. You get out of here. Carson's getting rid of this thing. Get out here and get in front of this guy and give him an opportunity to make a play. But Logan, he gets out on this screen to Jahan. And he runs right by the guy that actually makes the tackle, safety Donovan Wilson. And I'm thinking to myself live, because I couldn't see the all-22s, why isn't this guy being accounted for? Why is he coming up? No one's touching him, and he's able to tackle Jahan before he gets started. I want to see Jahan out in space. And simple answer. Logan Thomas decided he wasn't the MDM, most dangerous man. He wasn't it. I'm going to go all the way up the field to the cornerback that's playing 12 yards off because it's 3rd and 15. I'm going to go all the way to that guy, past the safety that's playing at 8 yards off, and let him run up here. I mean, he literally ran right by him and said, "Hey, man, how you doing?" "Oh, I'm good." And we running the screen. He says, "Yeah, I see it. I'm about to go make the tackle." "All right, man, good luck." And he ran right by him and went and got the corner, who was not the most dangerous man. Nothing pisses me off more during a screenplay than when offensive linemen decide, I'm not going to block this defensive lineman that could tear this screen to shreds, or get this linebacker that has a chance to, I'm going to go up here and go get this safety or this corner that I'm a mollywop. Well, guess what? You running 12 yards to go mollywop this corner or safety is rendered irrelevant if you don't block this linebacker or this defensive end that's trying to stop the screen right now. So don't run past him to go get a corner. Stop this guy from blowing the screen up, and we'll handle that corner or that safety later. We'll deal with him when we get to him, if we get to him. But if you don't block this guy, we don't get to him. Nobody blocked Donovan Wilson, so we didn't get to have that block that Logan Thomas was trying to make. That shit was rendered irrelevant because Donovan Wilson blew the screen up. It's just little stuff like that. Like, come on. There's another play. I could do this all night. There's another play. We're running, and for the life of me, I can't understand why Scott Turner doesn't run more bootleg. He's killing me. He's setting it up. He's setting it up. He's setting it up, and he never runs it. At some point, you have to stop setting shit up and actually have action off of the stuff that you've been running so that you keep the defense honest. He never did. But anyway, we're running this boot play where we have two tight ends to the right of the formation. Okay. We're in 12 personnel, one back, two tight ends, two wide receivers. Logan Thomas is the innermost tight end. So he's the first tight end lined up right next to the tackle. Beside him is John Bates. Okay. Logan, his job on this particular snap is to act as, because it's a fake outside zone to the left. Carson boots back right and is supposed to see a wide open Logan Thomas when he comes back out in the flats. And so it's a stretch outside zone to the left. And on the backside of that, Logan is supposed to be acting as if he's running to the left to cut off the backside, but then he stops, turns, pivots, goes back to the right. And he's supposed to be wide open in the flats. And John Bates' job on this play, right, is to be the backside protector for Carson Wentz, because Wentz is turning his back to the defense. When he turns around, the one thing you don't want Carson to see is a defensive end, because we're not blocking the guy on the end of that line, right? That's what you do when you go outside zone to the, opposite side. You don't block that backside defender a lot of times. You just let that guy go, right? So Logan is going to stop, turn, pivot, come back to the right. And John Bates is supposed to be Carson Wentz's personal protector. He's supposed to come back, get in front of Carson, and make sure that that guy on the backside that we don't block doesn't blow the play up. Logan runs, right? Logan runs, and then he stops, turns, and pivots. And John Bates runs right into him. Like, you know what he's doing. You know he's going to stop, turn, and pivot and run back. Why are you running right at him? Run where Carson is coming from so you can protect Carson. He's running to where the defensive lineman was, not where he is going. He's running to where he was. And by the time he gets out of the way of Logan, he slowed Logan down, and that lineman has already gotten up into the face of Carson Wentz, and Wentz has to get rid of it to Logan before Logan even clears the line of scrimmage, and it's a tackle for like a 2-yard loss. And it's just little shit like that where you go, what are we doing, guys? Did we not practice this? I mean, seriously. It's frustrating, right? I said all of that to say this, though. It's a lot of little shit. It's a lot of little, stupid, dumb shit that stopped us from being more productive. And it's frustrating because watching the film, going back, and we had opportunities in that game. The Cowboys punter shanked a punt from his own end zone, and we got the football at the Cowboys' 30-yard line. That's the equivalent of Cam Curl catching that pick that they negated with a penalty, because Cam Curl caught that pick at the Dallas 30. That's a turnover. When the punter shanks it and you get it, that's a turnover. We did nothing with the turnover. Are you kidding me? You get Carson Wentz on a broken play that he finds Jahan Dotson. The next play, you get a nice run from Jonathan Williams. And now you're all of a sudden you're inside the Cowboys' 20-yard line. And then you run it again with Jonathan Williams. I didn't like the call, but okay, it's a 2-yard gain. And then you have an intentional grounding with Carson, I think. And now you're fighting to just get in the field goal. And then you have a false start. My fault. You have a false start. Then you have an intentional grounding. So you have a Sam Cosmi false start. Then you have an intentional grounding. And now you go from a drive that looked like it had a chance to score a touchdown. And the crazy part is, on the intentional grounding by Carson Wentz, Jahan Dotson was open, wide ass open. And because we had a max protect, guys, we had a max protect. 7 people blocking for Carson Wentz, 5 linemen, 2 tight ends. And we still let a guy scot-free, still let a safety come in untouched. And Jahan Dotson is open for a touchdown. Is that Scott Turner? Is that Scott Turner? And I'm not sitting here defending Scott Turner. We're not on speaking terms right now. I'm not happy with Scott Turner. But that's not on Scott Turner. That was on the tight ends. That wasn't on the offensive line either. Just so we're clear. That wasn't on the offensive line. That's on the tight ends. It's little shit like that. The Cowboys ran the exact same play as us. Different results. It's just the granular details that we're struggling with. That's the shit that makes the difference. You want to know why we're 1-3? We don't pay attention to the granular details. We F the little things up, and when you have a lot of little mistakes, it adds up to a big ass problem. Do the little things correct. Pay attention to the finer details. They got to start that shit this week, man. All right. Let's move on to in other news. We heard from a lot of people today. Media was able to get into the locker room as they often do on Wednesdays. So we heard from a number of different players. We heard from Brian Robinson at the podium, obviously this being his first practice since the incident in August. We heard from Carson Wentz, as we always do on Wednesday. Same thing with Ron Rivera. So we heard from a number of different guys. We also got our first injury report. This is a different injury report. You know, a lot of guys up here that we didn't know had any ailments. Well, now we do. We got clarification on Wes Schweitzer. I think it was King of the North last week that he broke the news to me. I didn't even know. I didn't even see a press release saying that Wes Schweitzer was put on IR. I think King of the North was the one that told me that Wes Schweitzer was on IR. I didn't know. So we got clarification from Ron on that today as well. And let's take a look at the injury report. Before we get into anything, I've got tickets to give away as well. But before we give anything away, before we do anything, let's take a look at this injury report, see what we're up against. So Percy Butler has a quad. Again, Wednesday isn't the day. You know, if you're concerned about a guy playing, Wednesday isn't the day that your antennas go up. This is just, oh, I didn't know he was hurt. Oh, I didn't know how significant the injury was or where the injury exactly was. This is where you find out these things if you didn't already know. Like, I had no idea Percy Butler was injured. None. Curtis Samuel, we found out today he had a little bit of an illness. Hopefully he'll be okay. But, you know, we knew about Sam Cosmi's finger. He had surgery on his thumb. He's out for the foreseeable future. We knew about Jahan Dotson's hamstring. So it's not a surprise. Neither one of those guys are playing this week. But Wednesday isn't the day that you become super concerned. Thursday is the day you become super concerned. If you stack two DMPs on top of each other, it's not looking too good for you. So Percy Butler quad right now, the significance of that injury is that Percy Butler may be our best special teams gunner as it's constructed right now. He might be our best gunner. Remember when we drafted him, we said, hey, this dude is a hell of a special teams player. They weren't lying. Okay. He's usually, you see 35 down there first 9 times out of 10. So that becomes a big deal if he can't play on special teams, potentially. Sam Cosmi, we know about the thumb. It is what it is. He had surgery. He's going to be out at least a month. So we have to deal with it. Next man up, Koluk is up. I got confidence in him. I'm not tripping. Jahan Dotson, Ron's already told us 1 or 2 weeks. I think these next 2 games make a ton of sense because, again, you're playing 2 games in 5 days. I don't expect to see Jahan Dotson until week number 7 against Green Bay. That's just my personal opinion. We'll see what happens. Milo Eifler hamstring, didn't practice. I think he was dealing with something last week and he ended up playing. So we'll see what happens with him. The one that makes the one that looks to be the most damaging here is the illness to Curtis Samuel. Now, you know, what we do to football players is unlike what people do in any other sport. We treat football players like there's some kind of robots and machines. Like you screw in get a wrench out, tighten up a bolt here, maybe loosen up a screw here or there, and voila, throw a little WD-40 on it, and he should be good to go. If the man is sick all week and maybe he can't keep down fluids or something, you really expect him to be able to play at a high level in a football game on Sunday? Like, there isn't another sport where we treat the athletes like, oh my God, like basketball, they rest for load management in basketball, and nobody bats an eye. Okay, when a guy decides I can't play today, I've played, back to back, I want this game off, or I played the front end of this back to back, I need the second night off. And we don't even bat an eye at these basketball players when they do that shit. All right. You show up to the ballpark at a baseball game and you get scratched. Man, I woke up, my oblique was sore. They just take you out of the lineup. Football players, we want these dudes to play through every goddamn thing, as if they don't have, if they're not human. We can't just assume his illness, he'll be back. He may not practice tomorrow either. We'll see. That's a big effing deal. Why? Because Jahan's hurt. If you take Jahan and Curtis out of the lineup, we're back to where we were last year at receiver, with Terry being the focal point of the offense and really nothing else. You got Cam Sims. You got De'Ami Brown. These guys were here last year. It's the same shit we had last year. And then Dax Milne fills the role of white slot guy that was played by Adam Humphries last year. So we need Curtis Samuel. Like, if one guy goes down, we're fine. We can't have two going at the same time. So that's something to keep an eye on. David Mayo, hamstring. He had that last week, limited. I expect him to be okay. Charles Leno, shoulder, limited. Expect him to be able to play. William Jackson, the third, back, full. Daniel Wise, ankle, full. He didn't play. He was inactive last week, was Daniel Wise. So I think that's a great sign that he was full today, and I think he'll be back in the lineup this week, and that will be great news for us because we could definitely use him. Even though we've been really good up front on the defensive line, it won't hurt to add another guy back into the mix there. So now let's look at the Tennessee Titans side of things from an injury standpoint, and see what is here. So they've got a ton of DMPs just like we do. Ola Adeniji, neck. Don't even know what position Ola plays. Treylon Burks, toe. That's a big one. He's not playing in the game. If the reports are true, he's got turf toe. He's going to be out anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. So I don't expect him to play this week. Similar to Jahan Dotson not playing, I don't think Treylon Burks is going to play. That's a big effing deal for the Titans because they don't have any receivers. I've talked about this already. All right, they got Robert Woods and like 16 tight ends. All right, I'll give you the stats from their game against Indianapolis this past week, just to kind of hammer home the point about them not having a ton of guys at receiver. And you be the judge. I don't want to, put a battery in your back and try to make it seem like the Titans stink, because they don't. They can run the football. They're a veteran team. They don't beat themselves. They're very disciplined. They win football games. So I don't want to discount them like, oh, it's just the Tennessee Titans. But I'm just telling you, it ain't a lot of shit here on offense. If we can stop Derrick Henry, we're going to have a damn good chance to win this football game. Ryan Tannehill, he had Carson Wentz-like numbers. He had Justin Fields-type numbers. 17 of 21, 137 yards. Let me say that again. 17 of 27, 137 yards. 6.5 yards per completion, okay? That's trash, all right? 2 touchdowns, all right? And here's the receiving for the Titans. Nobody had more than 4 receptions in the game. That was Robert Woods. Their leading receiver was Okonkwo, which is the Maryland tight end, the rookie tight end out of Maryland. He had 3 catches for 38 yards. That was the leading receiver in the game last week. Derrick Henry was second. Derrick Henry isn't even a good receiving running back. 3 catches, 33 yards for Derrick Henry. Robert Woods had 4 catches for 30 yards. Again, that was one of their leaders. Another leader for them was Hilliard. Out of the backfield, let me make sure we're talking about. Yep, Dontrell Hilliard, the running back, 4 catches, 18 yards. All right, this is what they have in terms of receiving. Okay, it's not a deep group at all whatsoever. So you take Treylon Burks and his potential out of the mix there, they're in trouble. He's not playing this week. I feel really good about what we can potentially do against them in the secondary. Now we just got to stop the run. Easier said than done. Derrick Henry got his first 100-yard game last week. We'll talk more about that when we get to the first look of the Tennessee Titans. Zach Cunningham, elbow, did not practice. That's a linebacker there for them. Here's another big one. Bud Dupree, hip, did not practice. I would love it if he couldn't go. Now, I don't know if he didn't play last week or not. Pretty sure I could find out real quick. I'll look at their stats to see if he went last week or not. But if he doesn't go, I told you, I don't think they're going to get after our offensive line like the last 2 weeks. But I say that they got big Jeff Simmons, as my guy MJ likes to say. And so don't discount how much of a game wrecker he can be by his damn self. They still have Danico Autry, who's another guy that can get after the quarterback. So I don't want to disrespect, but they don't have any edge rushers. Harold Landry, their best pass rusher, is out for the season. He tore his knee up in the offseason. And, now Bud Dupree can't go. Let's take a look and see if Bud Dupree played. He did not play. Yes, he did play in this game. So that might be something he sustained during this game, and he may not be able to go in the next game. I'll take it, but we'll see. It's just Wednesday. Don't overreact. Joe Jones did not participate in practice today with a knee. Tory Carter, neck, limited. Amani Hooker, concussion. That's a big-time player for them at the safety position. So that's something to keep in mind there. And Ugo Amadi, ankle full. That's a nickel corner. And looks like he may be able to go. He was a full participant. So they got a couple of big-time names up here that we need to keep an eye on. But I think no name is bigger because I expect Treylon Burks to be out. No name is bigger than Bud Dupree on this list, if you ask me. So let's talk about what was said today. A lot. Today was really about Brian Robinson Jr. Who are we kidding? Okay. Carson Wentz's first 3 questions of his press conference all revolved around Brian Robinson Jr. I think Ron's first 8 out of 10 questions were Brian Robinson Jr. related questions. So heavy on Brian Robinson Jr. and rightfully so. It's a remarkable story. It's to me, a story of, perseverance. I mean, to be where we are potentially with him, just the fact that he's practicing. We saw the clips today. Everybody, all of the beat writers were posting clips of this guy at the beginning of practice, and we just all marveled at him. I mean, it was amazing to see him back out there 5 weeks after this thing, happened. So it's an amazing feat. I still told you I don't think he's going to play. And they asked Ron, is it a big deal that you've got 2 games in 5 days in this little stretch here, in this little pocket? And will that impact your decision? And, when Ron really agrees with something, while the person's still talking, Ron is going like this. So that's a big deal. And I talked about this 2 weeks ago. I'm like, if I'm looking ahead at the schedule and Brian Robinson is eligible to come off of the PUP list in week 5, I'm looking at that quick turnaround in week 6, and I'm thinking that's not a good time to play him in week 5. Unless you want to play him in week 5 and then he doesn't play in week 6. But why would you want to tease yourself? Why show what this football team could potentially be in week 5 and then have to go without it in week 6? You can't miss what you've never had. So I wouldn't put him out there in week 5. I'd wait until week 6 against Chicago. And then you go from there. Gives him extra time to recuperate. And, you get to play around with some of the things that you've done. You get some extra study time to see how you can better maximize Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson and things of that nature. So, Ron did, talk about that. And I think because of that, the way the schedule is set up, and I don't think they want to rush him. They even asked Brian Robinson, do you think you're going to play this weekend? He's like, look, man, one day at a time. I don't know. I got to see how I feel tomorrow. I don't really know. One day at a time. And that's how they should approach this. Now, you can't say what you aren't going to do, but I just can't imagine him playing on Sunday and then being able to turn around and do it again on Thursday. It's already hard enough. Players already hate Thursday night games. It's not enough time to recuperate and allow the body to rest up. And so I would hate to put that on a guy that's coming back and playing in his first career NFL game coming off of what he's coming off of. So we'll see what happens. Ron talked about JP Finley. So Ron did an interview, a sit down with JP Finley, and JP asked him about the start to the season and how frustrated. And Ron talked about how frustrated he was, and he talked about and JP asked him a question, that was along the lines of if things continue the way that they're going, could there be some big changes, during the season? And to which Ron responded, yes, absolutely. Like, if things don't turn around, it's getting late, essentially. It's getting late early, essentially. You're 1-3. Everybody else in the division is 3-1. You got teams like Minnesota in the conference that's 3-1. Everybody in the NFC West is 2-2. Atlanta's 2-2. Tampa Bay's 2-2. Like, it's still early, but it could get late on you real quick if you continue to lose and teams in the conference continue to win. So you got to find a way to turn this shit up and get a win. And he said, yeah, big changes could come. He somewhat backtracked when he was when that talking point was brought up during the presser, because I think he realized, I don't want to start something. But I think that was, to JP, it was a bit of an acknowledgement that, hey, there's some shit that's not really working. And if we got to go in a different direction, we will. And, the thing was, Ron never put any specifics to it. He just said, yeah, some big changes could be made. And in Ron's mind, a big change could be Brian Robinson starting at running back, which I think everybody would welcome that change at this point because of what it could mean for the usage rate of Antonio Gibson and how many different ways they could utilize him, and then how that could impact Brian Robinson in the run game in particular. So that could be a big change in Ron's mind. I think him benching Trey Turner was a big decision. Ron talked about how he talked to Trey Turner and sat him down like, you don't need to do all of that shit. I get it. He's a veteran. This is the dude you rocked with in the past. Bro, you not good enough right now. You haven't been, and you're not healthy. What else is there to talk about? He didn't need to give us the long spiel about, oh man, I talked to Trey Turner. Like, Trey Turner wasn't a 9-year veteran here. Like, you talking like he's Ryan Kerrigan or something. And, Ryan Kerrigan's been starting every game of his career. Now we got these two young bulls and we want them to get on the field. And now Ryan got to sit his ass down. Then you say, hey man, I had to talk to Ryan and let him know, hey, we really appreciate everything you've done. You're going to be a big part of this team moving forward, but these young bulls got to get on the field. This is Trey Turner. This man didn't even participate this summer. Sit his ass down. We don't need a long, drawn-out spiel about how you had to sit down and talk to him and have a nice talk with him. He ain't been good enough. Sadiq Charles is in there. Let's move forward. So he never defined what a big move was. But when we think of big moves, we thinking about play calling duties for Scott Turner and Jack Del Rio, even though I think Jack's been perfectly fine this season. We're thinking about Carson Wentz no longer starting at quarterback. That's the one everybody's thinking about. Like, hey, if this shit continues and Carson continues to be shell-shocked behind this offensive line, and there's times where he's got time to throw the football and he's still not getting the job done, are we going to move on from his ass or what? So, and he didn't want any parts of that. So, this is a big game. Any way you slice it. I think we've heard from several different people who have acknowledged that normally don't acknowledge this is a big game, man. I mean, yeah, the division games are huge. You want to win those. They count as 2, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, we heard it all before. Like Sunshine Anderson, heard it all before. This is a big game. And yeah, it's an AFC game, and we've already won an AFC game, and you'd like to start winning some NFC games because those count for more. But at this point now, we don't give a shit if it's AFC, NFC, PFC, GFC, it's played on Mars, it's played on the moon. We don't give a shit who it is. We just need to win. All right. At this point now, I could care less. Right. So this is a big one because you don't want to go to 1-4, and again, you start approaching that's you get into the danger zone. You drop to 1-4. We don't know what else everybody else in the division is going to do. But at this point, I'm not even thinking about the division anymore for the time being. Right now, I've put the division talk on hold because we got to get our shit together. Everybody else in the division seems to have their shit together. We got to get ours together. So we can't worry about what Philadelphia, Dallas, and the Giants are doing. We just got to worry about what we're doing, because what the shit we're doing right now isn't good enough. So you got a chance to beat a Titans team that the Giants already beat. You got a chance to beat a Bears team that the Giants have already beaten. Like, the Giants are taking advantage of their schedule. We need to do the same. Okay? We need to do the same. So this is a big goddamn game. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Carson Wentz, and something else Ron said, and while there's truth in this statement, and sometimes I conveniently forget this because this makes a difference. This is a new system for Carson, and the language is tough. Carson talked about it in the offseason, like, yo, this is different for me. Been in the same system my entire career, all 5 years in Philadelphia, same system. I go to Indianapolis, same exact system with Frank Wright. And now I get to Washington, and it's a totally brand new system for me. New players, new system. I've had to deal with a revolving door on the offensive line at multiple positions. I'm playing with my third center already in the young season. We're about to make a change at tackle, at right tackle. We've already had multiple right guards in the game. We've had multiple left guards in week one. We were interchanging guards in game, right? So he's had to deal with all of these musical chairs up front. He's had to deal with, again, a playbook that's foreign to him, a play caller that's still trying to learn and adjust to his skill set and his strengths, not to mention an offensive line that has let everyone down to this point. And so you're trying to adapt and adjust to that. It's a lot for Carson. It really, truly is. That said, there's still throws and reads and things that he's missing, and there's still pressure on him that is inexcusable. There's still poor play calling. There's still a lot of factors that don't excuse the shit that we've seen, right? But in saying that, Carson talked about, continuing to acclimate himself, continuing to really get into a rhythm with Scott Turner, getting into a rhythm with the guys in front of him and the playmakers. And you can see there are times where there's an issue with timing or where the football is being placed or, the protection or, Carson thinks that this guy's going to be here and he's there. I have an issue with some of the reads Carson's making, but again, I can't tell you what his first read is supposed to be. Where is he supposed to be reading from left to right? Or is he supposed to be reading, one side of the field? Or is he staring at this guy, not really with the intent to throw him the ball, but really to just pull that safety away to then go to the front side of the play? Or is he literally staring at the back side of his play with the intent to throw it, but he gets spooked by something he sees, and so he decides to come off of that read and go somewhere else with the football? Because there are times where you're like, Terry's open. Why aren't you throwing this football? You're staring right at him. Why aren't you throwing this? Cut it loose. Why aren't you throwing this football? And then he decides to go somewhere else with it. And you're like, we complain, we bitch, we moan about Terry not getting opportunities. And I can't tell you how many times I felt like this is an opportunity for you to get the ball to Terry. Why aren't you throwing it? You're looking right at him. You're looking right at him. There's not any coverage that should spook you. There's not any pressure on you that should spook you. Why are you coming off of that read right now? And then there are times where I'm like, damn, you could have gotten Terry the ball, but he got spooked, and he had every right to be spooked because here's a foreign color jersey flashing, and now he's got to start moving around. And there are times I'm like, bro, reset your feet and deliver the ball. But when you've been sacked the most times in the league to this point, you're not thinking about reshuffle. You're not thinking about stepping to the right, stepping up, and then resetting your feet and delivering a dime. You're like, where's the safety? Where's the escape? Where's the backdoor escape here? Where I get out of here? Because it's not safe. So again, everything needs to settle down. And so Carson's like, look, I believe in the guys in front of me. And look, all of this talk is cool. At this point, you're not interested. I'm really not that interested, even though I am slightly interested, which is why I keep going back for more of this. I'll just say this. This is the week right here against the Titans. This is the week where I expect them to be able to get well. And this is a good Titans defense. Understand that. As a matter of fact, let's go to the first look at the Tennessee Titans. Let's do that now because I keep bringing up the Titans, and let's talk about the Titans. This game to me is an opportunity for us, not necessarily to just get right. Like the Titans aren't trash. I don't want to come off as if I'm just disrespecting the Tennessee Titans. We're going to mop these boys. Because again, the Titans are looking at us like food. Like the prevailing thought right now is this is a trap game. We're 1 week away from our bye. You know, this is the last game prior to our bye. Don't overlook this Washington team and slip up and lose to a team that you should beat going into your bye week. Take care of business, and let's go into the bye with a ton of momentum, winners of 3 straight, you know, and now you're over 500 after an 0-2 start to the season. Let's do this the right way heading into the bye. Let's not slip up and lose an easy winnable game against Washington. That's the way the Titans are looking at this. We're food. All right, they're preparing to eat before the bye week. They want to get fat on a 3rd straight victory before they head into the bye week. So I challenge Washington to not do what they did against New Orleans last year. Remember, New Orleans came into Washington right before their bye week in week 5. They were going on a week 6 bye. And I said, look, the Saints are ripe for the picking. They're banged up. They're injured. They're limping to the bye week. They can't wait to go on their bye. Let's send them off to that bye with a loss and let's move forward with some momentum. And we came out of the gates, guns a-blazing defensively, got to Jameis Winston a couple of times, picked him off once, and we were playing well, and then boom, you give up the deep ball for a touchdown, and then, you know, Taylor throws an interception in the red zone, and boom, it all kind of falls apart on you, right? And then you give up the Hail Mary before halftime. You were up 14-7, and you give up a Hail Mary, now it's tied at 14. But that was a winnable game for a team early in the season right before their bye week. This is an opportunity against a team on their bye week or before their bye week, a chance to win against a team that is hurting, that has no receivers right now, no receiver depth. All right, bunch of tight ends, no receiver depth. They're scrambling on the offensive line. They lost their left tackle for the season, it looks like, and Taylor Lewan, right? So they're shuffling around parts up front on the offensive line. Ryan Tannehill, solid quarterback, manages the game. He has some wheels. He can use them. You have to be cognizant of him as a runner. He can and will hurt you with his legs. He can insert himself into the run game. They will run some read option if you're not careful. We have to be mindful of this. But the key to stopping the Tennessee Titans revolves around number 22. And they asked Ron, what do you do? How do you stop Derrick Henry? And I thought his answer was wrong. You know, he you know, because a lot of times when reporters ask questions that they want to soften up to the coach, the way they do it is they give them an answer, right? They give them an answer like, hey, Ron, you talked a lot about rush lane discipline and guys being where they're supposed to be. How do you stop Derrick Henry? Well, what the hell do you think he's going to say if you just put that shit on a platform? Of course, he's going to use the shit that you just said. Well, yeah, that's how you stop Derrick Henry. You got to be where you're supposed to be. You got to be in your proper gaps, have the right fits. You know, that's cool. And that is part of the way you stop Derrick Henry. The real answer to how you stop Derrick Henry is you get to him before he gets started. Derrick Henry is a load to deal with when he gets downhill. He is a build-up speed runner. He needs a runway to be effective. If you get to Derrick Henry before he gets started, he is ineffective. The Bills did it. The Ravens have done it to him multiple times. That is how you get to Derrick Henry. You get to Derrick Henry before Derrick Henry gets started. Once that engine gets revved up, and he gets downhill, and he takes off, you're toast. You might catch a Josh Norman stiff arm. You might catch a shoulder. And Lord help us if he gets out in the open field, because I ain't met a dude yet that's caught this man from behind. So, all in all, I said all of that to say this. You got to get to Derrick, and we've done a great job of getting in the backfield, stopping dudes before they've gotten started. That was the theme of week 4 against Dallas. Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne, in the backfield, Montez Sweat in the backfield, F.A. Obata in the backfield, disrupting the run game before the shit even gets off the ground. That's what we got to do to the Tennessee Titans. And if we can do that to Derrick Henry, they're a heavy play action fake team, heavy run action fake. Okay. So if the run is ineffective, the play action fake loses its luster. It loses its effectiveness. But you got to stop him first. Everything they want to do is predicated off of 22 getting loose. Defensively, I'm just going to tell you the Titans are as disciplined a unit as you will find in football. They don't make a ton of mistakes. They're not going to beat themselves, okay? You're going to have to beat them. They're going to be where they're supposed to be. If you make a mistake, they're going to make you pay. They got guys that make plays on the football. Kevin Byard is one of the most prolific safeties at taking the football away. You make a mistake. This isn't our team where our guys are falling all over the place trying to go get the football. Can't seem to put one foot in front of the other when they're going to attack the ball in flight. They're not running behind the play thinking that the ball is just going to fall out of the sky in their hand. They're going and getting the shit. You make a mistake, Kevin Byard, you don't get that shit back. It's not 3rd and 7 after a near interception. It's Titans football. Jeffrey Simmons is a game record. When we're talking about best defensive tackles in football, it's a short list. That list looks something like Aaron Donald, take 5 steps, Chris Jones, and then Jeffrey Simmons. That's what that list looks like. He's that good. Okay? So, understand what we're dealing with here. We have to block Jeffrey Simmons. That is not optional. If we do not block Jeffrey Simmons, then we do not have a chance in this game. We're going to get into the Tennessee Titans in greater detail as the season progresses, or as the week progresses. But I'll just tell you this in advance. I like where we sit in this particular game, in this particular matchup, with this particular team. Where we are and what we need to do fits what they are and where they're at in the season and what they have to do to be able to win. With the way we've been stopping the run of recent note and how we've been running the football effectively and trying to take pressure off of Carson, it sucks not having Jahan. It really does. Because I thought this could have been a week where he could have been really, really prolific. But I still like the opportunity that's in front of us. But we got to seize that opportunity. I'm telling you right now, it's a disciplined football team. There's a reason that Mike Vrabel hasn't had a losing season in his career as a head coach to date. That's not by accident. That's not a fluke. His team doesn't beat themselves. They may have kicking issues, and they may have, this or that happen, but it ain't because they had 12 penalties for 114 yards. It's not because they had 5 turnovers. They don't beat themselves. We're going to have to beat them if we want to win this game. All right. Let's get to social media maneuvers. Before we do that, however, I want to give away these tickets before I forget. So what we will do is we will go and get in here and give these tickets away. Chrome tab. All right. And I got to get the actual YouTube video that I need for this particular giveaway. I should have had all of this shit already. Should have had all this shit already figured out. No. Let's go to, there we go. That's what I need. Should have already had all of this squared away, but I was on one. So shoot me. But I'm getting my life together now, and we're gonna get this thing going. And all right. Let's see. And it's going to be hashtag win now. And let's see. All right. So we got all of the comments that we need. We are now going to add that screen in here, and we're going to give these tickets away real quick. All right. Let's see what we got. So, again, let me just be clear, because I saw a lot of win nows of people that weren't mob members. So understand that this giveaway is for Mob Squad and Patreon members. Now, you might not have been a Mob Squad member, but you might be a member of Patreon. So I'm not disqualifying anybody, because I don't know, what your YouTube name is versus what your Patreon name is. But understand that this giveaway is for Mob Squad and Patreon members only. Understand that. So with that being said, good luck to all, and to all, good luck. I'm going to do this twice. The first one is the first winner. And honestly, if you win, all you have to do is contact me. You have 2 ways to do so: via social media, DM me on Twitter. Okay. Twitter is the one that you're going to have the most success with. So DM me on Twitter, or email me, LouieTeeNetwork@gmail.com. It's really simple. Everyone has an email. You may not have a Twitter, but you definitely have an email. That's how you have a YouTube account. Okay. So LouieTeeNetwork@gmail. You can email me there with your information. All right. We can get this thing settled, figure out, the particulars, and I can get you everything that you need. And then Twitter is the other way that you can do it. DM me on Twitter, and we'll go from there. Now, if the first person isn't a member, or they figure out they can't go, this is what the second drawing is for. We'll have a backup person to give the tickets to. Okay. And if both of these people are invalid, then guess what? I'll do another drawing, Friday or whenever. And look, it's easy to give tickets away. If I come on live and just say, hey, I'm looking to give these tickets away, somebody hit me up, I'll get a bunch of people hit me up. So 2 drawings. Here we go. Good luck to everyone involved. Andy Hill. All right. I think Andy just signed up for the Mob Squad. And if he did, congratulations. If I'm not mistaken, I think Andy just became a member. Anyway, let's pick one more winner. Congratulations to Andy. If you are out there watching this live and you're a member, congratulations. 2 tickets to the Titans game this Sunday. We're going to pick one more winner just in case. Oz Duke. All right. Oz Duke. Let's see. That's the second winner. So congratulations to the 2. Andy, Oz, congratulations. Andy, you're up first. If anything goes awry with Andy, Oz, you're up next. So there you have it. And we are back like a crack. So let's get to the comment section and see what you guys have to say regarding everything that has transpired this week, anything that has happened today, anything you want to talk about under the sun with this football team. The floor is yours. I found a lot of your comments very interesting. I may read 1 or 2 of them tonight from the video yesterday. It was a really passionate video, because anytime players start talking out of pocket about the fans, and there were some that took Jonathan's side, and that's fine. Again, we can agree to disagree. Some people felt like he was saying what the junkies put words in his mouth for him. And you heard Jonathan at the end say, yeah, that's a good way to put it. That's not what he meant. That's not how he was saying that. He wasn't saying keep that same energy when we start winning. Like, hey, root for us just as loud as you are booing us. No. He was saying, if you're booing us now, stay over there and keep booing and don't come to these games and try to support us when we start winning. Don't try to flip sides. You don't want to support us while we're down. It's easy. It's the same theory, right? As you find out who your real friends are when you're down, right? When you're in the hospital, who comes to visit you? No one wants to be in the hospital, but you find out who your real friends are when you got some shit going on, right? Who's checking up on you? It's easy when you're going out to the club and you popping bottles. Everybody's your friend then. It's easy when you up and you balling and you got a little bit of extra bread and you got a couple of people that's hanging on and you making sure that they eating good. What happens when you broke and you no longer are the life of the party? Are those same people hanging on? Are they still around? Are they still holding you down? His point is, hey, we at a low point right now. Shit's not going well. If you really ride for us, then you're going to ride with us regardless. No matter what we're doing, you can be upset. And you should be. You want to win. I want to win. But you should still support us, right? But if you're going to start booing us, if you're going to turn on us when shit ain't good, when shit get better, don't come around. That's what he was saying. Now, again, we can agree to disagree. If you thought he was saying, hey, if you're going to boo us now, make sure you boo, you cheer just as loud when we start winning. Now, if you think that's what he was saying, good for you. Bless your heart. That is not what Jonathan Allen was saying. That is not how athletes are wired, and that is not how they think about these things. You either with us or you against us. That's how athletes are wired. Hell, that's how I'm wired. Either you with me or you against me. And it's cool. Either way. I just need to know where you stand. All right? I don't want anybody straddling the fence. Either you on my side or you my enemy. Which one are you? That's all Jonathan Allen was saying. And so the junkies cleaned it up for him because he was going down a slippery slope, and they saw it, and they said, "Hey, oh, what do you mean by that? Do you mean you?" And they put words in his mouth, and Jonathan said, "You know what? I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, that's what I meant. No, it ain't what the hell you meant, but I'll take that assist." But I found it interesting reading your comments, though. You know, a lot of you, again, anytime a player, again. Everybody tries to act like they understand our plight. These players, some of them do, most of them don't, and most of them don't even try to act like they care. Like Curtis Samuel, he don't give a shit about our plight. He really doesn't, and that's fine. He just got here. He has no idea. Jonathan Allen grew up in the area. Jonathan Allen was drafted by us. This is the only NFL team he's ever known. So he should understand a little bit better than a guy like William Jackson III, who just got here, or Curtis Samuel, who just got here. Jahan Dotson could care less about the plight of Washington fans. He just got here. No, he doesn't understand. But a guy like Jonathan Allen is one of the most senior members of this football team. Outside of Tress Way, nobody's been here longer than Jonathan Allen. Let that sink in. There's nobody left from the 2016 draft or the 2015 draft on this team. Everybody's gone. Allen is the most senior member of this team now outside of Tress Way. So if anybody should know what this fan base is going through and what they've been through and what they are continuing to have to go through, it'd be him. But again, he's an athlete. He's wired in a particular way. And so I'm not mad at him. I already told you. I knew what he meant. I knew what he said. I knew what he was trying to say. And I'm not offended because I have thick skin and I get it. But there are a lot of people who don't have thick skin, who are sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they don't want to hear that shit from a player. And he's a damn good player. He's one of the few that we do have that's actually laying it out on the line every single week, busting ass. So you can't be mad at Jonathan, But it's different. It hits different. The one thing you can't do and the one battle you'll never win as a player or any coach is going to war with the fans. You'll never win that battle. Embrace us. Sympathize with us. Don't demean us. Don't look down at us. Don't talk to us like we don't get it. Because we've been living this shit for decades. Anyway, I digress. But I thought it was really interesting reading a lot of your comments. I really, truly did. Anyway, let's get to the comment section, see what you guys have to say. And Quentin Ruiz. Let me make sure we went as far back as we had to, because it might have been a lot of comments tonight too. I just want to make sure. And this is as far back as I go. All right. So these comments are from 903. Yeah, so this should be good. Quentin Ruiz should be the first one here. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy, Quentin Ruiz. Writes, with a younger line and B-Rob coming back, I see some light, LT. We all know Wentz needs a run game. I know one thing for sure. It's a long season. Well, again, don't put too much eggs in the Brian Robinson basket. Now, I've given you my opinion. I don't think he's going to play this week. I could be wrong. I actually hope I'm wrong. I actually hope he plays. But again, I think you have to pick either or. I can't imagine him playing in both of these games. Okay? So you've got to pick one or the other. I'd much rather him play on the road at Chicago because of what kind of a game that's going to be. In this Titans game, I think there's some things that we can get away with and we might be able to do. And so, having Brian Robinson against the Titans would help a lot. But I think that Bears game is going to be you have to run the football game in order to have a chance type of football game. Like the Giants ran Saquon Barkley 31 times for 146 yards. I get it, inclement weather, but that's just the kind of game you have to play against Chicago. You got to run the football. With the kind of defense that they play and the kind of way they want to grind you out, you got to run the football. So I would rather have Brian Robinson for a game like that than against the Titans, where I think if we could stop Derrick Henry, we could really, really saddle that Titans offense and force them to be one-dimensional and really have a chance to win that football game, whether we can run it effectively or not, which sounds crazy because at this point with our offensive line, we really need to be able to run the football effectively no matter what. But we'll see. I can tell you this, watching the film, and again, if you're a member of the mob, gold member of the MOBB, or you're on Patreon, you have access to my film breakdown. I broke down the first half and the second half, 2 different videos. Having Sadiq out there makes a huge difference. Nick Martin makes a difference, and I don't know, if Tyler Larson is eligible now to come off the PUP list, and he'll be practicing, but he's got to get back into game shape, all of that good stuff. So he's not going to be playing anytime soon. Nick Martin's fine. I didn't see anything, fundamentally wrong about Nick Martin. He's going to be a good fill-in. We'll be okay. We'll survive. And I think this line, even Andrew Norwell was much better this week against Dallas. And like I said, I didn't think Norwell was the problem, like by himself. The biggest problem on the line was Trey Turner, to be honest with you. He was the guy that was, false starting and doing stupid shit and getting beat, couldn't move laterally. He was having trouble. And it might have been his quad for real. Remember, he had the quad injury. As you get older, it takes longer for shit to heal. He might not have been right for real. But he didn't look like he still had it. And he didn't have it in Pittsburgh. He didn't have it with the Chargers. This wasn't the first time that he didn't play well. So this isn't a surprise. Those other teams figured out what we just figured out, which is, hey, Trey Turner doesn't have it anymore. And we thought we could rekindle the magic from back in 2014. And his body said, nope, not happening. So we'll see. There may be some light at the end of the tunnel. Quentin Ruiz, stand up. You are the newest member of the MOBB. So glad to have you. MOBB, you know what to do. Show Quentin some love. welcome him with open arms. Feel like we've been down this road with you before, Quinn. I'm not sure, but whatever the case may be, man, it's so glad to have you with the MOBB. Mob, do it. Quentin, welcome to the squad. All right. Let's see if we got another one here. We do. King of the North. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, maybe Scott focuses too much on trying to subvert expectations with his play calls instead of what the situation dictates, i.e. the draw on 3rd and 3. That was such a frustrating play watching that, right? We're going with tempo. We're having a little bit of success. And again, I understand the 3rd and 3, inside give. The inside gun run, the inside gun power. If you've got a light box, you spread them out, and you got 6 guys in here, including the tight end, and the Cowboys only have 5 guys in the box, and they're not occupying every single gap. They literally were spread out across our front. Every gap was occupied. What in the world makes you think that we're about to pop a run here on 3rd and 3? It made absolutely no sense. Now, I watched that play on the film. I broke it down. And I watched that play at least 7 times. And what I ultimately came to the conclusion on that play was it looked like an RPO. And Carson had the ability to pull that thing out of the breadbasket of the running back. And he could have decided to throw that thing. And so what made me think it was an RPO is looking at how the tight ends both released on the play. Neither one of them blocked anybody. Both of them got out into the passing route immediately. All right, the receivers, they were blocking, so they weren't looking for a pass. But I think this RPO really only included the tight ends because you had John Bates release immediately into the flats, and then Logan Thomas came across the formation and snuck out into the flat. He tried to get a piece of the guy on his way out, but he really wasn't interested in blocking. He got out into the route. And I think if Carson would have pulled it out, he would have had an opportunity to throw it to Logan Thomas. Now, it was DeMarcus Lawrence that would have been covering Logan Thomas had Carson held on to it. And DeMarcus Lawrence would have had to make a decision. Do I go after Wentz or do I run with this tight end? I think we would have had a shot if he would have pulled it out and went with the pass of that RPO and not the run on that RPO. But I think that was an RPO. That's my guess. All right. Looking at that play as many times as I did, I think it was an RPO. But he decided to give it. I didn't think that was the right decision. We did not have the numbers. It was not a light box. The Cowboys were mugging all of the gaps. And that play, to me, if you gave the ball to the running back, it was doomed from the start. But what do I know? As I said several times, I'm just a guy, with a clicker in my hand. What do I know? Right. So I think there are times where Scott gets in his own head and he's trying to be too smart for his own good. You know what I realized, over the last 3 years in the NFL? Simple shit works. You get all these smart ass dudes as coordinators that want to reinvent the wheel. I think Scott's not necessarily one of those guys because he's using some old school shit too from his dad and from Eric Coryell and all of that shit. And he's infused some principles that he, deems to be a little bit more pertinent for today's NFL with all the motion and shit. His dad wasn't doing all of that. But I do think there are times where Scott gets a little too cute for his own good instead of just doing the simple shit. I said this in the film breakdown, and I've said this already tonight. There are so many times where we send, for instance, we send Curtis Samuel in motion, and he comes in short motion and he stops right behind the tight end or the tackle. And then we snap the ball. It's an outside zone to the weak side of the formation. And Curtis Samuel will come across the field to the strong side of the formation or vice versa. It'll be a outside zone to the strong side of the formation, and Curtis Samuel will come in motion and then go across the field to the weak side of the formation into the flats, and we'll hand it off, and it's just a bunch of eye candy to mess up the alignment of the Cowboys to get them looking at Curtis Samuel, maybe take a false step or maybe just freeze for a second, and maybe that allows a guard to get to the second level and get to a linebacker that if he doesn't freeze because of Curtis Samuel's movement. And thinking about the film and when Washington handed it to Terry on a jet sweep, just little stuff like that, they gotta just pause just to make sure it's not a bootleg and Carson's not keeping it and coming out the backside. But at some point, you do need to keep it and you do need to come out on the backside and get it to Curtis in the flats. But we never did that. And that's the simple shit that you see Green Bay do, and you see Minnesota do, and you see San Francisco do, and you see the teams that run that outside zone all the time and those stretch plays. You see them boot that and come out the other side and get it into the flats and get an easy 10, 11, 12, 8-yard gain. And we just refuse to do it. You run that same play with that same action 4 times, and you never pull it out of the belly of the back and say, I'm going to boot this bitch and get it to Curtis across the formation. I mean, simple stuff like that. It's just frustrating. And I do think sometimes he may get into his own head sometimes. Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Metaphor writes, Lou, B-Rob active with pitch count. Team pumped. Blockers block. Crossers don't bump each other. Carson step up. See a guy throw it. D bend, don't hold. Win. All of those things sound very, very insightful. Makes a ton of sense. I could see, Brian Robinson playing on a pitch count, as you just mentioned. The intent is always to have a guy. Logan Thomas, week 1, was supposed to have a pitch count. What happened? You get in the heat of the battle. You need Logan Thomas. To hell with a pitch count. All right. This ain't Major League Baseball. They're not shutting you down regardless of you being in the middle of a pennant race, because we said 200 innings and that's it. They don't give a shit. You get into the heat of a ball game and Brian Robinson's got it cooking and he's averaging 6.3 yards a carry. You think they're going to say, oh, well, B-Rob's got his 12 carries. We said 12. Hell no. They're going to ask Brian, hey, you good to go? And Brian's going to be like, yeah, coach, hell yeah, put me back in there. You can't ask a player shit. All right. And so Brian wants to go in there, continue to eat, and they're not going to stop him. There goes your pitch count. So I mean, it sounds good, but every time they say that, it's easy to do that in the preseason. Yeah, they put Chase Roulier on a pitch count versus the Kansas City Chiefs, and they got him out of there. Yeah, it's the preseason. Pitch counts are cool until you get in the heat of the battle and you need that guy. Then that pitch count goes out the window. So I don't know. We'll see. Easier said than done. I'll say that much. John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy JP writes, would you start B-Rob when he gets back, or do you keep AG24 as your starting running back? How many carries would you give him? And also, would you try to run it more? I do think that when B-Rob comes back, I think he is automatically your starting running back. So I don't think that they're going to keep Gibby as the starter, because they were excited to start using Gibby as a kickoff return man, out at receiver a little bit more, doing more with him. They were excited to have that opportunity to utilize him more in the pass game and more as a weapon. And when you get Brian Robinson back, I know they have Jonathan Williams, and he's cool, and he did some really good things against Dallas. And they like him. And I do too. I like Jonathan Williams. I thought he ran really well. He's not Brian Robinson. He's not Antonio Gibson either. And so I think this gives them the opportunity to be able to do more with Gibby. So, yeah, Brian Robinson is your lead tailback. Gibson goes to your utility man, your do-it-all, pocket, Swiss Army knife. And I do think that Scott will try to run it more out of necessity. Ron is going to tell him, I want you to run it more. It's really simple. I think, Ron, I think, got frustrated with Scott and not to and I'm speculating here. Again, this is my inference that I drew. I can confirm nor deny this. But I think Ron was really frustrated with Scott in that Eagles game where Carson got sacked like 80 million times in that first half, and there was no adjustment. I think he was frustrated with Scott in that first half against Detroit. Where they were blitzing. And I think less against Detroit because they blitzed and they just weren't ready for it. Caught them off guard. The Eagles didn't blitz for real. They just beat us with 4 guys. And at that point, you're like, okay, figure this shit out. If you can't block him, get it out of his hands. What are we doing here? And you saw in the second half, it was 8 million short passes. So I think that was all Ron telling him, bro, get it out of his hands. I don't want to see him getting sacked like that anymore. I think against Dallas, I told you what I thought the game plan was. And I think that's going to be the game plan moving forward. Stay on schedule. If you get an opportunity for a chunk play, take it. They're not going to stop trying to get chunk plays. That's why Carson was brought here. But I think they're going to choose their spots more wisely, and I think they're going to be more conservative, which can be frustrating as a fan. Because what I saw a couple of times on some drives that really pissed me off is you get into a groove, 5 on first down with a run, another 3 on second down. And now it's 3rd and 2. And you pick up the first down with a little toss out of the backfield to Logan Thomas, right? Move sticks. So you come back and you run it again on first down. And this time you get 6 on first down. Then you run it again and you get 5. So now you're in a little rhythm. So then you run it again on first down. This time the Cowboys are ready for it. And so you only get 1. At that point, I don't need to come back with another run just to see if that 1-yard stop was a fluke. And then you mess around and you only get 1 on that, and now it's 3rd and 8. But that's the kind of conservative nature that you may see and you may have to deal with. Now you got to convert 3rd and 8. Right now, I don't trust them to convert 3rd and 8. So I think there is a little bit of that, that comes into play as well. But you can't complain. You got to take the good with the bad. I do think they're going to try to run it more. King of the North, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, Williams looked good. No need to rush B-Rob back. While that's true, they look at B-Rob as being a much more dynamic runner. And I thought Williams looked good too. I agree with you. And they're not surprised by Jonathan Williams looking good. They like him. That's why they kept him. Obviously, if Brian Robinson hadn't had his situation occur, or had that incident occur, rather, I'm not sure that, Jonathan Williams would have made the roster or not. But if he didn't get claimed, he would have been on his practice squad and he would have been right there, So that's an interesting take. Juan Gotti talking sports. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, Lou, big Jeff Simmons. Oh no, at least Harold Landry is out, or else I'd be scared. As bad as things have been, I think we beat Tennessee. I like our chances this week. I told you last week I didn't like our chances against Dallas. I didn't like that situation for us. And I actually thought we didn't play that poorly. We had a shot in that game, but we made too many mistakes. And the officials did not help us at all whatsoever. It really, going back and watching it, they really did impact that game in a major way. There's no way around it. And I hate to be that guy because the referees, their involvement on our side and lack thereof on Dallas's side of things isn't the single reason why you win or lose a game. Their involvement or lack thereof is a part of why you lose. It's not the reason that you lose, but it was a huge part of that game. The officials were. Absolutely. There were some calls that definitely changed the tenor of the ball game. One in particular, Terry McLaurin, on that 4th and 15. I honestly think Ron and company should have kicked the field goal. I get it. You're down 22-10. It's about 7 minutes or so left in the ball game. A field goal really doesn't do you that much good because you're still down 9, which is 2 scores. You need the football twice. Are you going to get the football twice in a 7-minute span? My answer is you're damn right. You got all 3 of your timeouts, I believe. I don't know if Ron wasted a second half timeout or not. But you got all 3 of your timeouts. I was going to assume you had all 3 of your timeouts. And the defense has been playing really well in the second half. You kick the field goal, and who knows? The ensuing kickoff, Dallas could fumble. You could recover and kick another field goal, and now it's 22-16, and all you need is a touchdown and an extra point, and you win 23-22. You don't know what's going to happen. Take the damn points. It'd be one thing if we were the Chiefs or some type of prolific offense where 4th and 15 was a drop in the hat. That's nothing. We can convert that. But we can barely convert 3rd and 6. What makes you think we can convert 4th and 15? But in saying that, Terry runs a corner route. And damn if Trayvon Diggs doesn't grab him by the waist and turn him around and spin him and got Terry stumbling, fumbling all over the damn place. How is that not a flag? Yet anytime we cough on somebody, they pulling out the yellow laundry. That's hard for me to stomach. That should have been 1st and goal from the 1-yard line. That penalty occurred in the end zone. We had interceptions negated over less. Yeah, no Harold Landry, and it could be no Bud Dupree. You take away those 2 guys, and it gets interesting up front for us. We got a shot, right? But you still got Big Jeff Simmons, and he is a problem for sure. Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Metaphor writes, oh my, Terry, 1,000 yards from you is never too much. Never too much, never too much, never too much, never too much. He'll get there. He'll get to a G this year. It's frustrating because I thought Terry had some opportunities in this game against the Cowboys. And for whatever reason, he didn't get as many opportunities as he should have. I'll say that. See about another super chat. John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. My guy JP writes, Lou, the people who want Howell to start need to understand that if they do that, it means we're punting on the season. Ron doesn't want to do that yet. Absolutely. I mean, because you have to understand, if they were to bench Carson, it would be in favor of Taylor Heineke because Taylor gives us the best chance to win, not Sam Howell. Sam Howell is where you turn when you say, okay, got nothing to lose, everything to gain in terms of this guy getting experience. And so let's go ahead and start that process right now by him getting some reps in games. And I liken it to Dwayne Haskins in 2019 as a rookie. You weren't going to start Dwayne early in the season. Jay wasn't going to start him when Jay was trying to fight for his job the first 5 weeks before he got canned, right? Then you get old man Callahan as your interim head coach, and he wasn't going to start Dwayne right away. We wanted him, soon as he came in, we wanted him to start Dwayne because we already realized we're ass and we're not going anywhere. But he couldn't do that yet because he said Dwayne wasn't ready, right? And so you didn't want to just throw him out there. But he could have started Dwayne immediately because our season was already done. We weren't going to we were 0-6. We weren't going to make anything of our season at that point. So you could have put Dwayne in because the only thing that you can gain now is experience. And we saw at the end of that 19 season, we were excited about Dwayne going into 2020. Why? Because of how he ended 19. In some of those games, the Giants game, the Eagles game, he beat the Lions. He actually didn't play that poorly against Green Bay. Like, there were opportunities at the end of the season that we were like, hey, okay, this isn't bad. We may have something here. And you would have to get to a point like that with Sam Howell towards the end of the season where it's It's long been decided that you're not a playoff team. And now you just want to get them out there and see if you got something or not. But we're not even close to that. We're 1-3. The natural progression, if they went away from Carson, would be to go to Taylor Heineke, because Taylor Heineke gives you a chance to still, win football games. And again, we're far from being over. We've already talked about this, numerous times. But there is a 4-game Ron win streak coming. We've had one in each of the first 2 years here. I surmise a third is coming, where we win 4 in a row. I keep saying this. It's not a matter of if we're going to win 4. That's going to happen at some point in a row. It's when does it happen, and what's our record when it does. If you're 1-5 and you win 4 in a row and now you're 5-5, that's cool. You're right back in the thick of things, but you expended all that energy to get back to 500 by winning 4 straight, and you got nothing to show for it in the way of being over 500. Just think of it like this. If you're 4-5 and then you reel off 4 in a row, you're 8-5. You know how much different 8-5 sounds than 5-5? Which is why we got to find a way to continue to tread water while we figure this shit out. There's a lot of moving pieces on this team. Carson being the biggest. A lot of moving pieces. Still trying to figure shit out on offense. Well, while you're figuring it out, you got to find a way to win some ball games. Because if we get to that portion of the season where it's Houston, Atlanta, Giants, bye week, Giants, and you win 4 in a row right there. Right? Again, who are we to say what the Texans are going to be then, or the Falcons or the Giants or whatever, right? But let's say we get to that point of the season, week 11, Texans, week 12, Falcons, week 13, Giants, bye week 15, Giants, and you win all 4 of those games. If at that moment, when you win that first Texans game, because that's week 11, if at that moment you're 4-6, and then you win 4 in a row, you're 8-6, and now the season looks totally different. You get my drift? But if you decide at week 11 that you want to be, 3-8, and then you win 4 in a row, well, you're 7-8. So, what does that really do for you? You know what I'm saying? You're 3-7, rather, excuse me, going into that week. Well, you win 4 in a row, now you're 7-7. That ain't 8-5. So it changes drastically, or you would be let's say you're 4-6, because you would have to have played 10 games going into week 11, and then you win 4 in a row, you'd be 8-6. That's different than 7-7. That's different than 6-8. You're 2 games over 500 with 3 to go. You're right in the thick of the wild card chase or whatever. Who knows what the division looks like at that point? Probably chasing after the wild card if you're 8-6, though. But you get where I'm going with this. It's a lot different if you're hovering around 500 and then you win 4 in a row versus, man, you done dug yourself a 1-6 start to the season hole. You win 4 in a row, but you're still 5-6. Okay, cool. Still under 500. Nobody worried about you. You're not starting Howell until we're absolutely out of this thing. Unless unforeseen circumstances happen. And you know what I'm referring to. All right. King of the North, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, just don't feel good about this O-line and Wentz. I hope I'm wrong, but I think benching 11 might be our only shot at winning. I know Ron ain't quitting on Carson, but it's how I feel. You're not necessarily wrong for feeling that way. I don't think that's our only way of having a chance to win. But Carson's gonna have to play better, man. After watching the film, it was abundantly clear that he was not comfortable, and nor should he have been. But I think this past game against Dallas, I think that should have instilled a little bit more confidence. Hey, look, I can relax. This offensive line has gotten better. They're getting better. The addition of Nick Martin at center and the inserting Sadiq Charles in at right guard helps this offensive line tremendously. Now they just have to gel together, mesh together, start to play as one. But I can take my time and settle in back there. It's not always going to be a jailbreak. Now, Cornelius Lucas getting in there. I really think Sam Cosmi was hurting. Like, this man, we watched this man turn his ankle and hyperextend his knee on the same play versus the Eagles. And he wasn't even on the injury report last week. That man was hurting. You ain't telling me nothing. So I think this thumb injury is a great way for him to just get healthy, fully healthy. So I actually welcome Cornelius Lucas getting in there at right tackle. I think he's going to do a bang-up job. And I think we're going to be fine up front. I really, truly do. So, and I think Carson's going to be better because of it. I think this past game against Dallas allowed him to see, all right, we're starting to settle in. This group, I can rock with this group. But we'll see. You might be right. Benching 11 may be the only recourse we have to having a chance to go have ourselves a season. But we'll see. All right. Let's see. Got another one here from King of the North. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, King of the North, writes, Lou, you watch other teams. We look unprepared every week. The little shit we do wrong matters a lot in the NFL. Absolutely. Says bad teams with bad coaches don't pay attention to the details and do the little stuff wrong. Facts. You're not wrong. And I acknowledge that. I wholeheartedly do. And that's the frustrating part when you see, and here's another thing. Some of these coaches, they preach the little things and then players go out and F them up. But you know what the good coaches do, or the teams with the teams with good coaching do? They get those guys out of there. What you're not going to do is continue to make the same mistakes over and over again. While I got guys over here who got the message the first time and can go in there. They may not be the best, the same caliber of athlete as you or a dynamic playmaker, but they're going to do what I asked them to do and do it in the way that I asked them to do it. That's going to help us win football games. So you ask any coach, they don't care how talented you are. They much rather have the guy that's going to do the things that they ask them to do, how they ask them to do it, versus the guy that wants to do his own damn thing and maybe way more talented. So I totally get it, but it was so frustrating watching that film and seeing the little things that we weren't doing well. It's just like, come on, guys, are you kidding me? It's a little thing here and there, but as I said at the top of the show, those little things add up, and eventually they become massive problems. And that's what you saw in the Cowboys game. It's little stuff. Kendall Fuller running down the field and falling down, tripping over his own feet and falling down. And then William Jackson panicking and getting a pass interference 40 yards down the field. That play is so hard to watch. It really, truly is. Good post there, King of the North. Let's see what we got. If we got anything else. Got a super chat here from JB Johnson. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy JB writes, what's up, Lou? What's up, JB? Says, I hear your ways we could win, but you're assuming we reassemble a functioning football team. Understood. Scott is still Scott, and it is the pathetic, dysfunctional manner in which we are losing. I think that's the part. Look, losing happens in this league. And if it's one thing that we're accustomed to as fans, it's losing. That's not new for us. What's frustrating this year is not the fact that we're just losing because one, we did expect a little bit more, and so losing does suck. And when the expectations are a lot higher, losing does hurt a lot more. But like you said, it's not just the losses, it's the manner in which, if we would have lost to Philadelphia 24-22, and they had to, run out the clock by getting a first down late in the ball game and then take knees, we might have lost the game, and Eagles fans would have been talking trash regardless. But at least you could have said, hey, man, we pushed them bastards to the limit. We made a couple of mistakes, or we didn't make this play, or they just made some plays and they got us, but we'll get them next time. Man, we got smoked in that game. It was 24-0 at halftime. Like, they toyed around with us. I don't think they stopped scoring. Like, Eagles fans would like to think that, oh, we took our foot off the gas pedal. Bullshit. You didn't take your foot off the gas pedal, but you didn't need to score anymore. It was abundantly clear to you that 24 was more than enough to win the game. You didn't need to do anything else. And that's frustrating. Being down 22-0 at halftime to the Detroit Lions, that's maddening, right? And this game against the Cowboys, I told you I wasn't that upset about how this game transpired because I kind of saw this coming. But you get frustrated when you look at an opportunity. You're up 7-6. Then you give up the touchdown right before the half, and you're down 12-7 at halftime. But you get the ball after halftime. And you try to mount a drive to start the second half, but you self-destruct like you always do. And you punt the football, and Dallas is pinned deep in their own territory. And, you're able to they get a field goal, I think. And you're able to get a stop. I think that first possession, they had to punt. And then we got the football at the Dallas 39, and this was a frustrating sequence. Get the ball at the Washington 39. First, we should have more yards than we got on that return. But look, Dax Milne is our punt returner this year, and there's nothing we can do about it. But we started at the Dallas 39, and that drive ended at the Washington 20. Or why do I keep saying the Dallas? We started at the Washington 39, at our own 39, and the drive ended at our own 22 when we punted the football. Just insane. We went back 17 yards. And it changed the field position. Dallas ultimately got the football, and they went down the field, got a field goal. Now it's 15-7. And at that point, I'm like, okay, let's see what we got going. Can we get something going? And Carson makes a move, escapes the pocket, completes a pass. We go up tempo, and Jonathan Williams breaks off a nice chunk run. And now you're like, okay, we're in business. Let's go get a touchdown. And the drive bogs down, and you got to settle for a field goal. And it's just like, God damn it, man. But, I said all of that to say this. To your point, it is frustrating watching the way in the manner in which we've lost this season. But I think the Cowboys game was encouraging, and I know there aren't any moral victories, and I'm not looking for any, because at the end of the day, it's all about winning. But when you've played as poorly as we've played the last couple of weeks, that Dallas game was a sigh of relief. To be in that ball game, we were down by 5 at the start of the fourth quarter. We had opportunities, in that game to make it interesting, to potentially try and steal it, and we weren't good enough. We made too many mistakes. We had our chances. We had our opportunities. But we were in the game. That's all you can ask for. I always say, just give me a chance in the fourth quarter. We had that. And I think we'll have that chance again against Tennessee. And I think we'll have that chance again against Chicago. And if things go well in those two games, I think we'll have that chance again against Green Bay. So forth and so forth. So Scott is still Scott. And I told you, we're not on speaking terms right now. I'm not happy with him right now. Like, I'll be listening to Scott's press conference tomorrow, and I'll be listening with the utmost disdain. I'm going to be looking at Scott like, you weak mother. Shut up. But I actually want you to keep talking, but shut up. I want to see what he has to say, but I really don't care. because it's going to be the same shit. And I've yet to see Scott like own up to some shit like, man, I was pretty bad yesterday. I ain't heard, and I don't know if he's supposed to say that. A wise man once told me, you keep telling people how bad you are, eventually they start to believe you. You know, you can't keep saying, yeah, that was my fault. Yeah, that was my fault. Because eventually people are going to say, you know what? Yeah, it was your damn fault. So I don't know if you want to I don't know if you want to plant that seed necessarily to say, yeah, no, I didn't have the best game as a play caller. I got to be better. But I would love it if the media asked him some questions that made him give us answers to some things that just don't make sense for me right now. Like the question they keep asking over and over again, you're not going to get the answers you're looking for. Why is the play action not working? That's the favorite question of the media right now. And they're going to ask Scott Turner that tomorrow. Is there a reason why the play action fake isn't working despite having some success on the ground? They're going to ask him that at least 2 or 3 times tomorrow. And he'll give us some bullshit cockamamie answer. I want to know why you're not running any bootlegs. I want to know why we haven't seen a tight end screen since week 1. Why Amani Rodgers hasn't touched the football since week 1. Why are we running a tight end screen to John Bates when you got Amani Rodgers on the field? Help me. Help me. These are things that I just would like to know the answers to. But they're not going to ask those questions. Anyway, I digress. See, I got a super chat here from Metaphor. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Metaphor writes, I see we hold the rush down, but 22 stiffen WJ3 down. I hope we're able to contain 22, because if we do that, that's the key to victory. That's the number one key to victory outside of turnovers. You turn it over, you're going to lose the game. Because Tennessee, generally, unless Ryan Tannehill has a meltdown, they don't turn the football over. They usually take care of the football. I just gave you his stats from the game. 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 17-21. Didn't have any passing yards, but he didn't make any mistakes either. They're not going to beat themselves. You go right ahead. The Colts had 3 turnovers in the game. The Tennessee Titans had none. They're not going to beat themselves. So if you want to beat them, you're going to have to play good football. Period. They're a well-coached team. You say what you want about the Titans. You say what you want about Mike Vrabel. Maybe a little old school in the way he operates. Maybe he can be a little bit conservative from time to time. Say what you want. But his shit gets results. He has a standard. Those players either meet his standard or he gets them the hell out of there. It's really simple. He's not for the bullshit. He's an ex-player. He played for Bill Belichick. He doesn't have time for your shenanigans. And his team reflects that. They're hard-nosed. They're physical. They play tough on both sides of the football in the trenches. And that's how they win. They get after you defensively. They get after you in the run game. And then their quarterback is able to play off of that. And he's ridden that success to the playoffs each of the last 3 years. So stopping 22 is going to be the key. That's going to be the key for sure in this game. John Graves III, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy JG3 writes, what you said about executing poorly echoes Ron's comments. Do you agree with Ron that we just need to clean up the details and we're back on track, especially since Ron divides the season into quarters? I mean, that would go a long way, but that can't just be it. It can't just be clean up some of the execution issues, right? Because so you got 4 games, small sample size. But in each of those games, we could pinpoint different problems that led to the undoing of that particular game. In Jacksonville, we had turnovers, right? We had 2 turnovers. That Curtis Samuel turnover was a backbreaker. We had 3 turnovers in that game, but the Curtis Samuel one, we were up 14-3. We were driving for more points. At that point, we thought we couldn't be stopped offensively. Curtis Samuel fumbles, and the entire game gets flipped on its head. We don't score another point until Jacksonville takes a 22-14 lead. Carson Wentz also throws 2 interceptions on back-to-back plays. 3 turnovers in that game. Almost killed us. All right, you go to this next week against Detroit. Lions blitz us. We have no answers in the first half. We scored 0 points. We got dominated. It wasn't just offense. We got dominated in all 3 phases: offense, defense, and special teams. We were horrible in the first half. So there wasn't really one thing to pinpoint. We were just awful. We looked unprepared. We out-physicaled, out-toughed, and we looked like a team that wasn't ready to go and win a game on the road, our first road contest of the season. Showed up in the second half, too little, too late. Week 3 against the Eagles. Couldn't protect to save our lives. Couldn't protect, and then you couple that with giving up big plays in that game. Gave up a big ball to A.J. Brown down the field. Gave up a big ball down the field to Devontae Smith. You gave up a shallow cross to Devontae Smith that he catches and runs up the sideline, gets a massive gain. Too many big plays given up in that ball game against the. You had a pass interference on Wild Goose on the second play of the game. Getting chunk plays. You give up a stupid tight end screen for a touchdown and had no business scoring. You give up the juggled pass for Devontae Smith on the sideline that should have been challenged. I don't know if he caught it or not, but you needed to have another look at it. Didn't. That counted. Big plays killed us in that game. On defense, on offense, we were just abysmal protecting. Terrible. Then you go to the next game, Dallas. Penalties. Small little things, detail-oriented that we didn't do well. I've touched on a couple. There's so many more I could get into, but that's what the film is for. But you also had 12 penalties. So you could have cleaned up, theoretically, you could have cleaned up the small granular details of some of the things that we did in the game that just shouldn't happen and that you can clean up. But then there's still the case of the 12 penalties. They still happened. So, yeah, theoretically, you clean up the small issues and details. It's going to go a long way in helping get this thing on track. But what I think the biggest thing is the consistency of it all. We got to be consistent. We've seen flashes from this team. Hell, in the Dallas game, we ran the foot. We had 4 guys with over 40 yards rushing in that game against Dallas. It was our best rushing effort of the season, and it wasn't even close. We ran the football effectively against Philadelphia on first downs. It carried over into the Dallas game, and we really just ran the football effectively, period. A lot less effective in the second half, but we still ran the football in the second half. They never stopped us totally in the game. They had their moments where we ran the football and they were ready for it, and it was a gain of 1 or it was a no gain or it was a loss of 2. But those were few and far between. For the most part, we ran the football effectively for 4 quarters against the Dallas Cowboys. And that should have netted us more opportunities to score than it did. But the reason it didn't wasn't because of small granular details. It was because of the penalties. So you still have that in that particular game. So yes, moving forward, you clean up the small granular details. You remove the penalties. You stop giving up big plays. And that's been a problem all season long. Jacksonville had some big plays against us. Detroit had some big plays against us. Philadelphia had a bunch of big plays against us. And Dallas had some big plays. Most of them were penalty related, but they still had a Noah Brown reception. Zeke Elliott on the first possession of the game had a simple catch and run underneath where Cole Holcomb kind of falls asleep behind the wheel, and that leads to the opening field goal on the first possession. Outside of that, they did nothing. But it was a bunch of big plays, penalties, stupid shit on defense. That's got to stop. And that's been consistent for 4 weeks. And that's not a little thing. It's not a thing here or a thing there. We just have a knack for either being in the right place at the right time and still not making a play, or having a pass interference down the field, or being there, making a play on the ball and still not making a play on the ball. Guy still comes down with it. We got to figure out a way to stop giving up big plays. We got to stop turning the ball over. We haven't had a game this season yet without a turnover. We haven't been clean once. You're not going to win games turning the football over, man. 3 against Jacksonville, 1 against Detroit. Wait, 2 against Detroit. We had a fumble. Did we recover the fumble or did they recover the fumble? I know he had a pick, so it doesn't matter whether we recovered the fumble or not. We had a pick that he threw over the middle to Logan Thomas. Against the Eagles, he fumbled twice. We lost one of them. That led directly to a touchdown early in the ball game when the floodgates started to open. And then week 4 against Dallas, we had 2 Carson Wentz interceptions in that game. One of them was like before the half. Give your guy a chance, even though he could have a better ball and Jahan would have had a shot on that play, but still it's an interception. And then threw the interception late when the game was pretty much out of reach, but still, you don't want to see him throwing that pick there. We haven't been clean in one single game. Meanwhile, we haven't forced a turnover since week 1. There's that issue as well. So there's a lot, man. Just cleaning up the granular stuff, the small, intricate details isn't enough. We've got to be more consistent in a bunch of areas. Stopping the run has been great of late, but we had an issue with that in weeks 1 and 2. Now, weeks 3 and 4, we've been much better. Is that solved, or were we just showing flashes of being able to stop the run, but Tennessee's going to come to town this week and rack up 175 yards on the ground on 35 carries, and Derrick Henry's going to have 122 yards on the ground, and they're going to win this game on the strength of Derrick Henry carrying them? I don't know. The lack of consistency is something else that we got to work on. We got to be more consistent. By any means, stand up. You are now the newest member of the MOBB. Fam, mob, you know what to do. Show by any means. Love by any means necessary. And I look forward to chopping it up with you by any means. Don't be a stranger. You're now a part of the fam. Come on out here and support. Show yourself. Look forward to chopping it up with you. Welcome to the squad by any means. John Graves III, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, JG3, double up, thank you for doubling up rights. If you buy game tickets, Dan has his money. If you give/sell those tickets to fans from another team, you're punishing our players, not Dan. Look, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. When Dan refused to get rid of Bruce Allen, I wasn't doing anything to support Daniel Snyder. Unfortunately, as much as I can't stand Daniel Snyder, he's going to make money regardless. Now, if I'm being really petty, like I was when we wanted to fire Bruce Allen, and I said, I'm not buying no more merch. That meant no hats, no shirts, no nothing to put extra money in his pocket. Damn sure ain't buying no tickets or none of that shit. I'm not putting a single red cent in his pocket outside of the money he's already getting off of the TV money. Look, he's making money hand over fist from the TV deals that the league splits between the 32 teams. So this is extra money that he's getting for these game tickets. He's going to be A-okay, right? He would love to sell out and love to have you come in there and pay $10 for some nachos and $15 for a beer and $40 for parking. He would love to gouge you in every way possible, right? But I'm more interested in helping, like you said, the players, the coaches. I'm interested in helping create a winning environment. So if me not necessarily being there in person, but making sure that 2 Washington fans are, then I've done my part. Now, again, if you want fans to come, you don't want season ticket holders selling their tickets, you want to put asses in seats that root for the good guys, win. And he knows that. I mean, he already said it to JP. I get it. You know, if we want the fans to come out and we want them to support us, we got to give them a reason to cheer. We got to give them a reason. And we haven't done that. He was really candid with JP. That's an interview worth watching. Take Command for Life. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, it's hard to get myself excited for this game. You don't need to be pumped for this game. You don't need to be pumped. Because it's a big game, but it's the Titans, man. I mean, how juiced up are you going to get? It's the Titans. I get it. And it's not just because it's the Titans that you're not juiced up. It's just you're tired of building this team up and then being let down. Building up expectations to sit in front of your TV at 1:05 on a Sunday afternoon only to be disappointed by 4:07. Hell, more likely than not, you've been disappointed by 2:52, right around halftime. So I get it. It doesn't change the fact that this is a big game for Washington and the prospects of having a season. Still a big game, but you could definitely be, not disinterested, but like, all right, we'll see what happens. I'm not really tripping either way. Twin D, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. I was looking for you during the podcast, my guy. Good to see you. He says, evening, LT. Just dropping by to one. Tell everyone smash the like button. Y'all heard the man. Hit that like button if you haven't already done so. Over 360 of you out there, only 100 and some odd likes. We can do better. Let's get that thing up to 200 if at all possible. He says, and two, give kudos to LT on his Braves winning the NL East. Great battle. It was fun. The Mets fans are much like the Eagles fans, very pompous and arrogant. The only difference is the Eagles have won of late, whereas the Mets have not. But I'm on the right side of this thing. Won the World Series last year, won the NL East 5 years in a row. I'm not tripping. But whenever we are in the same vicinity, I'm going to be looking for that drink, my man. Just remember that. Oh, man. Love you, Twin D, man. And I don't know. I don't know if I can say I'll be rooting for you against the Padres, but you got a good shot against the Padres. I'm going to keep it a buck with you. If you can get your pitchers to pitch, you'll have a shot. But that's another discussion for another day. Chris Kreider, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Chris Kreider, writes, Lou, appreciate all that you do. I'm going to FedEx Field this weekend, and I am bringing home that dub. Hashtag time to take command. Hashtag 17. Look, that is what I want to hear. But I was so disappointed last week. I had so many people tell me, or not last week, week 3 against Philadelphia. That was the last home game we had. I had so many people tell me, hey, I'm bringing home the dub. My guy Metaphor won the tickets, and he was amped, and he was like, yo, I'm bringing home the dub, Lou. I got you, bro. And I was like, man, that's what I want to hear. And so many people were going to that game. And they was like, yo, I'm telling you, I'm bringing home the dub, and it didn't happen. And not only did we not bring the dub home, it was a bloodbath, right? It was hard to watch. It was a really depressing game. Week 3 was. So I have belief in you. I believe in you. I do think you're going to bring home the dub, but I'm more in wait and see mode now than I ever was before. Right? I'm in more of that wait and see mode. Like, okay, it sounds good. We'll see about it. Before I was like, damn right, bring it home. Now I'm like, all right, that sounds cool, man. I hope you do that. But I got belief in you, Chris. I do think you're going to bring it home. Thank you for that super chat, Chris Kreider. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Big Money Sonny, writes, the team smells like shit. Explain that, number 93. I don't want to hear anything about these millionaires crying. Stop your whining and win, period, end of story. Again, Jonathan Allen's not a bad guy, and he's not the bad guy. again, you tread lightly when it comes to a fan base that has endured what this fan base has endured. You have to tread lightly. And these fans, I mean, these players don't seem to understand that. Some of them don't care. I do think Jonathan Allen cares. I do think he cares. I just think that he went about it the wrong way. But that, I'm telling you, 99% of players go about it the way Jonathan Allen goes about it, especially the good ones, which he is. I'm a Grizzlies fan, and Ja Morant got injured last year. And there was a small, but loud, and you know how this goes. It was the same thing that happened with the Kirk Cousins situation. There were more fans that wanted Kirk Cousins here in Washington than the fans that wanted him gone. But the small majority, or a small minority rather, that wanted him gone, they were louder than the masses of fans that wanted him around. They were louder. There was a small minority of fans that was talking shit to Ja, that were Memphis Grizzlies fans, that were talking shit to Ja and saying the team was better off without you, this, that, and the third. And, Ja took exception to that, right? And he's like, look, for all of y'all fans that are talking shit about us, and then, we got a guy on our team named Dylan Brooks, and Dylan's a very lovable guy if he plays for your team. If he doesn't, you can't stand him, but he plays for our team, so we love him. But Dylan is also one of these guys with the utmost confidence. Never met a shot he didn't like. And he's one of those guys that thinks he's better than what he really truly is. And so you can't tell Dylan shit. So when Ja's not in the lineup, Dylan takes it upon himself to be the best player on the court, but he's not. But nobody ever has the balls to tell him that he's not, because he's got the utmost confidence. Anyway, long story short, we won games without Ja. We went 20-5 in the 25 games that he didn't play. I mean, that's really uncommon for a star to be out and you to win that many games, but that's how deep of a team the Grizzlies are. I just told you this story to tell you this. Ja took exception to those that thought the team was better off without him, and he told those fans, if you're not real fans, if you're not going to ride with us no matter what, if you on that side, keep that energy, stay on that side, which is the same shit Jonathan Allen just said. Don't root for us when shit's going well, and then when shit's going bad or you don't like something, you want to start ragging on us, booing us, and not supporting the cause. When it's bad, that's when we need you the most. We need you the most when shit is going downhill. This is when we need y'all to show up and be your loudest. But that's not what happens here. And I never will blame any fan for not wanting to show up, for not wanting to be loud and support this team, because fans have been loud and supporting this team for a very long time. And again, a lot of fans, jump ship when this name changed. They changed. It changed something in them. They no longer had an attachment emotionally to this team because they were attached emotionally to the Redskins. Well, we're no longer the Redskins. So there's a lot that goes into it. This is a very unique situation, but you can't tell fans stay over there. Individuals that have been supporting this team for 30, 40 years, 50 years, for some 20 years, 15 years, 10 years, whatever it is, especially the ones 10, 15, 20 years, they haven't seen a winner before. 25 years, haven't seen a winner before. 30 years, haven't seen a winner before. So you can't tell those fans that if they feel like booing, and again, he was specific in his description, specifically the fans that crossed the line. I think he's who he was speaking to. There's some fans that get really mad. Like, social media isn't the place to be, because everybody's a thug on a thumb thug on social media. But there are some fans that cross the line, but they're in the minority. You don't even have to address those fans. They're in the minority. Most of the fans of this team want to see you win. But you can't tell them, if you're not going to root for us when shit's going poorly, don't root for us when it starts to go well. which is what he was saying. And then the junkies cleaned it up for him and said, root just as loud when, as loud as you were booing. And Jonathan's like, you know what? Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And he probably will run with that moving forward. But that's not what he meant. So I'm not mad at him. And I don't think anybody should be mad at Jonathan. He wants to win, man. And at the end of the day, that's all any of us want. Twin D, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Twin D. Double up. Thank you for doubling up rights. Gonna email you to find out what your favorite bottle is. I got you. I ain't gonna even get you to do that, Twin D. We'll link one day. Don't worry. We'll be in the same place. I'll make sure of it. And we'll sit down, we'll chop it up, and we'll talk on your tab. No worries. We're good. We're good. And I know you're good for it. I know you're a good dude. I know you're good for it. So I'm not tripping. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Big Money Sonny. Double up. Thank you for doubling up rights. The best consistency we've had is Tress Way, Lou. You're not wrong. And even Tress has been a little inconsistent this season, but Tress his best game was this weekend against Dallas. He was outstanding. He kept the Cowboys pinned inside their own 10-yard line for much of the game, 10, 15-yard line for much of the game. And the defense, I'd say about 75% of the time, the defense kept them pinned and gave us great field position, and we squandered it offensively, which was the most frustrating part. I bitched and complained all last season about getting better field position. I bitched and complained all offseason going into this season about the defense holding teams down deep in their own territory, forcing them to punt from their own end zone, and this offense coming away with some great field position. And they finally did it, and we didn't do shit with it. Frustrating, man. Damn. They had a punt go off the side of the punter's foot, and we started at the Dallas 30. And we still didn't get any points out of that. Mind-boggling. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Big Money Sonny, writes, Twin D, Lou like cheap-ass wine like Mad Dog 2020, Cisco, Night Train, for example. Just make sure it's cherry flavored. First of all, you trying to kill somebody with that stuff, man. That's that old school wino shit. You'd never catch me drinking any of that stuff. And damn sure don't want any cherry flavored anything. But I'm pretty sure Twin D already knows that. He's been around the block a couple of times around these parts. So I'm pretty sure he's hip to the game. Chase Youngburner, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Writes, Heineke gives us the best chance to win ball games right now. Wentz more talented, but he's rushing and clearly immobile, and his pocket awareness is terrible. Nothing you said there is necessarily false. I don't agree with Heineke gives us the best chance to win ball games right now yet. That might be the case in 2 weeks. Right now, I still want to see if Wentz can make some of the adjustments. Again, it's a new offense for him, a lot of moving parts in front of him. Kind of just want to see everything settle down, maybe get a more consistent run game with Brian Robinson and see if that helps. This offensive line is about to, I'm telling you, this offensive line, is about to neutralize itself. Okay, it's about to stabilize. It's been a shitstorm. All right, it's been a shit show up front. I think it's about to stabilize itself. So that's going to help Wentz too. So I just want to see this thing play out for the next couple of weeks. And if it doesn't go well, then I think you have to start talking about that. And honestly, if the shit don't work out in the next couple of weeks, and you find yourself at 1-6 or 1-7, why do we even need to go to Taylor Heineke at that point? Let's just go to, and I still don't think he would do it at that point, but let's just go to Sam Howell, man. Let's just get that party going and see what it looks like. But let's not have that discussion, because that doesn't lead to anything fruitful, and that's not a Ron move. Ron isn't looking to punt on the season. Ron isn't looking to end up 5-12. So I doubt we are able to have that conversation. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. Big Money Sonny writes, Lou, I own a ton of Topps Project 70 cards. What's the best way to showcase them or even best binder to hold them? Right now, they live in a bag. You need to get cases for them. Like, nobody puts their cards in a binder anymore. All right. It's not 1987 and it's not 1994. Get some cases. Okay. Get some sleeves. First, get you some penny sleeves. Then get you some individual cases. All right. They come, buy them for like $3-4, 25 come in a pack or so. And start putting those bad boys in those penny sleeves, and then put them in the little and put them in the top loaders. Okay, that's the best way to display them. And then you buy yourself a little, display case, and you put those up on the case, a little shelf or whatever. Let's see. Let's see. Got another super chat. I think. We'll see. Got a super chat here from Bloodshot Sports. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Bloodshot Sports writes, I don't know what I was smoking this offseason thinking Scott could be a head coach. I fell for the banana in the tailpipe too. I thought with Carson Wentz, again, everything, it's just this offensive line threw a monkey wrench in everything. Because, I mean, to me, this proves Scott's not head coaching material, though. So I did fall for the banana in the tailpipe as well, because I like Scott's demeanor. He's been around football his entire life. He's a lifer. He's been around it because of his dad. And so he just gets it. And I felt like his approach, his demeanor, all that shit lend itself to being a head coach in this league. But his inability to adapt and adjust with everything that's going on with the offensive line and, the quarterback having some struggles and things of that nature, I think it's a glaring issue that I think speaks to his inability to maybe adjust to, being in control of 53 guys and having shit go wrong in a season, and him being able to adapt. If you can't adapt the offense to, fit some woes up front, and your quarterback maybe having a little bit of happy feet because of the pressure, if you can't devise a scheme to get it out of his hands and get your play, if Terry can't have, 5 or 6 catches every single game, and you get your playmakers involved with relative ease, maybe you're not the right man for the job. Nothing in the NFL is easy, but one thing I know is easy is getting a playmaker the football. May not be in the spots you necessarily want to get them the football. We would all love to see Terry averaging 17 yards a catch, 6 catches, 117 yards in a touchdown. We would all love to see that. That's ideal, right? But that's not feasible every single week. Teams aren't going to just let you have free run. So you got to devise a scheme that's going to get guys the football. And I'm telling you, there are plays where I think he drew it up and Terry's got a shot. He's got the coverage. He's got a look, and Carson's not pulling the trigger for whatever reason. It could be pressure. He could get spooked by something, or, whatever the case may be. There's reasons why, but there's other ways to get him the football too. And again, I'm just not seeing that. So that's frustrating. And I'm not talking about throwing 18 wide receiver screens. No, that's not my idea of. That's one of the ways you can get a guy the football, get him involved. And I'm not opposed to that. Once or twice. I'm not opposed to that. I don't want to do that 5,000 times in the same game. So whatever you were smoking, you passed it to me, and I took a couple hits. And I probably passed it to the left, and somebody else took some hits, and we all were smoking the same shit. I'm just as guilty as you are. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. Big Money Sonny writes, Lou, let's make a bet. What's the over-under on when Luck gets you again? I mean, I'll take whatever bet you, because he's not getting me again. Now, bets, I mean, I'll tell you, Luck is a very resourceful guy, okay? He'll morph into anything he needs to or anyone. He's like Mystique is Luck. You think you're talking to Wolverine and it's actually Mystique. You think you're talking to Professor X, but you're actually talking to Mystique. You got to be careful. So I gotta be on my P's and Q's, Y's and Z's, because Luck is a he's like a chameleon, man. He can morph into whatever he needs to. He can blend in. But I'm on high alert, bro. He tried to get me with the Daniel Snyder shit the other day. I'm on it, bro. And any suspect person that I haven't seen before or somebody that I always talk to, I'm gonna be looking like, one time somebody acted like Derek B. And I'm thinking I'm talking to Derek B the whole time. And Derek B's like, bro, that was not me. I'm like, dude, are you serious? I went back. It was not him. It could have been Luck for all I know. But now I'm on high alert. So whatever bet you trying to make, I'm down. Shit, I could be talking to Luck right now. This could be Luck right now I'm talking to, posting his big money Sonny. For all I know. But you still ain't gonna get me. You ain't gonna ask me no question and have me, and next thing you know, D's nuts. It won't happen. I'm on it. He tried to get slick too with the Dan Snyder shit. It ain't happening, bro. So I'm with it. Luck, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Luck says, I say under 46 and a half hours. That's 2 days. So you're taking the under on that. Okay. We'll see about that. Luke Butts, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Luke writes, teams know our secondary is suspect. They're going after Fuller and Jackson and McCain. Well, anyway, the champs are here. The champs are here. ATL. You know what it is. Braves all day, every day. Postseason for the Braves starts next Tuesday. And I will be front and center watching that. But yes, teams do know our secondary is suspect, and they are going to continue to attack them. There ain't no guy in our secondary that teams fear. Not a single one. They will go after any and every single one of them. And we've got to do a better job of getting to the quarterback because we have what we have at cornerback. I said this during the film. This is the last thing I'll say about the film because I don't want to give away too much. I've already said a lot, but I'll say this. I said this on the film breakdown. Somebody asked me a question. I think it was last week on this very program. Last week, somebody asked me a question. What did I think the biggest need was going into the draft next year? And I said, I'm not a draft guy in terms of in season. I'm a draft guy after the season has met its conclusion. And now we can think with a level head, with clear eyes. We can function in the space that we're in where, okay, we know exactly what the season has brought us, what turned out to be some of the biggest weaknesses, what this roster lacks. There's clarity because you're at the end of the season. When you're 4 games in, anything could arise as a big need as we get towards, the end of the season into the offseason. Something that we're not even thinking about right now could become a massive need. Just like going into the season, did anybody project that offensive line, specifically guard, would be an issue? No, but obviously guard is definitely on the radar right now if you're a fan. Even tackle to a lesser degree, but tackle is something that I think they should be entertaining as well if a guy fell into their lap. But that said, after watching the film, after watching the way the first 4 weeks of the season have unfolded, I've come to a consensus on what the biggest need on this team is. It's corner. I said that on the film breakdown. The biggest need this team has right now is cornerback. Both William Jackson III and Kendall Fuller are going into the last year of their deals next year. I don't know if there's an out for either one of them, but neither one are playing well right now. Jackson III is an enigma because he can still run. Like Fuller can't run. Like you can see that his best football is behind him, and he's a liability when he has to turn and run. He just isn't capable of running like he once did. He's lost a step, and he never really had a much of a step to give in the first place. So that's unfortunate for Kendall Fuller because he's a very heady football player. Still one of the smartest guys defensively that'll be on the field for us. Like the play where he didn't catch the interception when he fell down which I'm still struggling with. That was just him being a smart football player. He wasn't supposed to be there, right? He's on the backside of that play at corner. All of his routes, all of the guys that started to play on the left side of the field where Kendall Fuller was occupying, they all ran deep over routes going to the right side of the field. So that left Fuller with absolutely no responsibility on his side of the field. So what did he do? He could have just stood there in no man's land and did nothing, but instead he got depth on his side of the field, which took him to the middle of the football field, which then took him straight to the football. And Cooper Rush never saw him. And we see these guys on teams around the league make plays like this all the time where the quarterback never sees the backside corner, because when you start running routes away from that corner has no responsibility. He can then run back and get underneath that deep ball and you'll never see him. And that's what Kendall Fuller was supposed to do, except he fell down. That's a smart football player. Kendall Fuller's a smart football player. The problem with Kendall Fuller is he cannot run anymore. William Jackson III he just needs to trust his technique. He's grabbing guys at the top of routes. He's in trail technique. He's right there. All he has to do is locate the ball. He's scared to turn around and look. Instead, he wants to grab a guy just to make sure he doesn't run away from him. And it's unnecessary. Either way, we need a corner, period. We need corners, but we need corner. That's the most important need on the team right now, if you ask me. The linebackers are playing just fine. I got no problems with what we're getting out of them. After the slow start to the season, I think they've come on the last 2 weeks, both Cole Holcomb and Jamin Davis. I have no problems with what they're giving me right now. The corners are the biggest issue on this team. But you want to alleviate some of those issues, the best thing you could do is get to the quarterback. It's really simple. You want the secondary to be better? You know why Cooper Rush almost threw 2 picks? It should have thrown the third. Rush. Literally his last name. We were getting to his ass and pressuring him, and he was throwing shit up for grabs. You want that secondary to not look as badly as they've looked, we got to get to the quarterback. When we don't get to the quarterback, they're going to get exposed. Thank you for that, Luke. Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Metaphor writes, all that granular-ish makes for a mountain of dirt. That's where we are right now. You keep adding up those little mistakes, and it adds up to a mound of mistakes. That's exactly where we are right now. All right. Let's see if we have any more supers. Got one here from DJ23. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. DJ23 writes, hey, Lou, I'm done with Ron and his plan, but listening and watching you is the only reason why I'm hanging on and still in the car, but my seatbelt is off. Hey, man, I don't blame you. I told you if we don't beat the Titans, I'm officially taking my safety belt off. I'm not getting out of the car yet because there's still the Chicago Bears game. Now, we lose to both the Titans and the Bears, I'm out of the whip. I'm out of the whip. But if we win one of these next 2 games, I'll still be in the car, but I won't have my safety belt on. We win both of these games, I've still got my safety belt, and I'm back in the game. I'm starting to touch the radio. I'm getting comfortable again. I'm asking Ron, hey, you want some refreshments? I'm thinking about pulling over, getting some more gas. I'm in here for the long haul, right? We lose one of these 2 games. I don't have the safety belt on, and I'm still thinking about when can I get out of here with the most minimal amount of scars left on my body, scratches and bruises. Because, again, the car's not stopping. So I get it, man. I'm right there with you. You know, not quite, but I'm right there. I'm on the precipice of hitting that button and ejecting the seatbelt. So, yeah, I'm not that far away. I hope I don't have to take the seatbelt off. I'm hoping, man. I'm like, come on, guys. Don't make me do it. It's October, man. Don't make me take the seatbelt off in October. Don't make me do it. But we'll see, man. That's the way it's trending right now. That's the way it's trending, DJ. John Graves III. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, John Graves III, writes, Sometimes I think Scott's lashing out because B. Mitch and them tied him to the goalpost for mouthing off when he was a kid. I haven't seen any clips of that. I'm pretty sure those are out there. I don't know. I just know this much. He better tighten the hell up. And you know what I'm saying? He better tighten the hell up. He's got to be better too. And it honestly, watching the film, it's not as bad as it appears to be sometimes. But and he's not to blame for everything. But he's got to be better. I'm not satisfied with what I've seen from him. I think he can be better, and I need to see him be better. I need him to involve more players. I need him to be more creative in what he's doing. I need him to take advantage of some shit that's working and get stuff off of that action. If you're running something and you're showing them something, it should be with the intent of showing them that exact same thing, but actually having a different ending result, right? I've explained to you what I mean. I did it on the film breakdown, but he's got to be able to get more out of the things that are working. He's not maximizing the amount of usage he should be getting out of certain plays that are being successful. That's another sign of a coordinator, is you get the most out of plays and you set things up for later on in the game, or you put shit on film for 2 weeks down the road. We'll see. Joe Rockhead J, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Joe Rockhead J writes, John Allen was a Skins fan before he played here. That may be true. He grew up in this area. I'm not doubting that he was a fan or is a fan of the team, right? That's not what we're talking about here. But again, and that's why I say, he says, I get it. If you get it, then you wouldn't ever tell any fan to keep that same energy. You wouldn't utter those words to a fan. If you get it, if you understand, then you wouldn't say keep that same. Because again, he wasn't saying it in the sense that the Junkies said at the end. That wasn't the way he was saying it. He was saying it like, if y'all over there, stay over there. You on that side, stay on that side. That's what he was saying. And if you get it as a fan, if he's truly a fan, if he gets it, then he wouldn't. Because what we've been through, you can't tell somebody when to put it down. So many people on Twitter. I'm trying to think of the dude's name on Twitter. I can't think of the dude on Twitter, but it had a huge following on Twitter. I'm gonna bust my brain if I'm gonna have to look him up, because if I don't, I'm gonna be pissed off. See if I can track down his name. I don't even know if I'm following him my damn self. I say that like I know I'm following him or something, but I think I am. But I haven't seen anything from him in a minute. Yeah, Burgundy Blog. That's his name. I am following him. Burgundy Blog. A lot of people get pissed off at Burgundy Blog. And, while I'm here, let's check and see the last time Burgundy Blog posted something. Burgundy Blog has not posted anything since June. Nothing on his account since June. All right. And he goes through this. His bio on his page is a retired fan of a retired football team. Okay. He goes through these spells where when the team sucks and he just can't muster, and I think he's a doctor too, so he might be busy with his profession, right? Not everybody does this for a living. So he'll go months without posting anything. And then the team gets on a 4-game win streak and he's back in. They reeled him back in. He gets excited. and people are all up in arms about, oh, you weren't here when we were losing. Now you want to come back now. Guess what? He gets to do that. He gets to do that. You know why? Because he's been through the best of the best, the worst of the worst, the lowest of the lows with this organization. And every time we think we've hit rock bottom, Daniel Snyder reaches down and digs a hole that could send us straight to hell. Hellfire and brimstone. We start to feel the heat. You're like, damn, I thought this shit was rock bottom. And Dan's like, wait till you see what I do next. We can go way lower than this. And so when you've dealt with that as a fan, because again, these players will never begin to understand what it's like to be a fan. We deal with all the shit that they don't. Again, they go out, they play the games, and again, they don't want to lose. They put in a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to try to win football games. They're trying their best to win. It's just not good enough. However, as fans, we take the brunt of that. We talk trash. We get trash talk to us. People talk shit to us just because you might have a Washington license plate, or you might be wearing a Washington ball cap, or they ask you, hey man, what's your favorite team? You know, they're having a conversation, you just hanging around, and they ask you, you tell them like, oh man, and they just start roasting you. This is the shit we deal with. I go to the barbershop. They know I do football. They know what I do for a living at the barbershop. I try to stay out of the conversations because a lot of times they don't know what the hell they're talking about. But you get some conversations. The last 2 times I've been to the barbershop, these have been some of the best, most insightful football fans I've ever encountered at the barbershop. And trust me, shit goes off the rails at the shop. Okay. You get some of the worst football discussions, sports in general, at the barbershop. All right. These were some of the best conversations that I've had at the barbershop. But it ain't shit I can say to any of these dudes, the 49ers fans, Eagles fans, Rams fans. I can't say shit to none of them. 49ers was in the Super Bowl in 2019. Eagles won it in 17. Rams just won the Super Bowl. I can't say a damn thing. I just keep your damn mouth shut. What am I going to say? I can only add to some of the conversation because I know all of these teams and how they function, but I can't talk trash to anybody. I can't say shit. This is what we deal with as fans. And so I get it. He was a fan here before he played here, but if you were a fan, then you would understand the plight of the fan. You would understand the plight of the Washington fan and know that it's okay to put the shit down because it's a lot. And whenever I feel like picking it back up, or whenever I feel I can boot the draws off you, and whenever you do something worth cheering, I'll be back and I'll cheer for you. But until then, I'm going to boo you, or I'm going to put it down and y'all figure the shit out. And if you figure it out, I'll be back. They would love it if this was like Pittsburgh. If this were like Green Bay, New England. Guess what? Those franchises win. Steelers haven't won a Super Bowl in a little while. Same with Green Bay, but they win every year. Mike Tomlin hasn't had a losing season in his career. He's been the head coach for the Steelers for the better part of 12, 13 years. He's one of the longest tenured coaches in the league. Hasn't had a losing season in his career. Doesn't matter who is coaching the Green Bay Packers. Doesn't matter who the head coach is. They've either had Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers. Not a lot of losing going on there either, huh? That's why those fans keep showing up. That's why they're so loyal and faithful. They win football games. Look around the league at the teams that don't win, and you tell me who's selling out stadiums and whose fans continue to show up as gluttons for punishment week after week after week, year after year after year after losing. The Lions fan base, their fan base they're reinvigorated right now. But they're starting to lose. They're 1-3. They're kind of right on the same plane that we are. Hey, y'all better start winning, or we're not going to keep showing up and making a whole bunch of noise at these games. But they had a lot of empty seats, people wearing paper bags on their heads in Detroit. Jacksonville, they haven't seen a sellout since the Brunell era in Jacksonville. I mean, what are we talking about? Seriously. Like if you suck, it's going to be hard. And not only do we suck, similar to what was said earlier, like JB Johnson said earlier about, it's not just that we losing, it's the way we losing. It's not just that we suck, it's the way we suck. We don't even suck in a lovable loser type of way, like the Chicago Cubs. We suck in the most denigrating, absolutely horrendous, horrific ways possible. Our owner is the scum of the earth, and his wife is tone deaf. She doesn't get it either. She tried to make their family out to be the victims of all of these sexual assault allegations. Are you kidding me? What? They don't get it. And so it makes this situation that much worse. Dan has private investigators shadowing people, intimidating witnesses. This is the guy that we call the owner of our NFL franchise. And we're supposed to win football games with this shit going on? With this guy running the organization? Are you serious? So when somebody decides that they don't want to root for this team anymore, or they need a break, or they want to boo, you can't get upset at them for that. You got to be able to, if you really truly understand the plight of the Washington fan, then you say, you know what? I get it. I get it. And we're going to do the best we can to get you back on board. That's your response. We're going to try to win, make you proud enough that you come here and you support. If you get it. If you truly understand what we've been through, that's your response. Not keep that same energy. That's all I'm saying. And again, I'm good with John. I'm good with John. I got no issues. I know what John's about. But just again, this is a delicate fan base right now, man. It's on edge. We're not the Redskins anymore. The one thing that you could hold on to is that, hey, we the Redskins. We got a proud tradition. Redskins mean something. It stands for something. Well, they took that shit away from us. So now you got a fan base that's on edge. That the part of it that's left anyway. Half of the fan base is gone already, if we're keeping it a buck. So I just told you what Burgundy Blog's bio said. A retired fan of a retired team, football team. He's talking about a lot of fans, not just himself. Not everybody is like us that are ride or dies, here to the bitter end. No matter what happens, we're going to support. We're the minority. We're not the majority. Tony P56, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Tony P56 writes, check your pride at the door and call Eric Flowers. It ain't happening. Did you see that Landon Collins is meeting up with the Giants, though? Interesting. I don't think they're going to. You saw they signed 2 guards today, right? They to the practice squad. But they released John Toth, the center, the hand model, and they brought on 2 interior offensive linemen. So, and neither of them were named Eric Flowers. So that ship has sailed, man. That you can go ahead and let that thing go. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Big Money Sonny writes, Lou, you clowning me, bruh. The Topps Project 70 cards already come in a hard case. I have a ton of them. I just don't know how to store them and show them. So just get a little one of these little wooden, display cases. And it's like little shelves, right? And you can just lay the cards on them. And there's probably like maybe 7 shelves or so. And you just lay the cards on them. You can even make one yourself. They're not hard to make either. There are actually videos out there. And so you can create your own display case, and you can have all the cards up. And somebody like yourself, where you probably already got display cases for all your shoes and stuff, you can make something pretty dope for your cards too, man. Check it out. Or you could just buy one, like I said, but they got plenty of display cases where you can just line the cards up, put them in whatever order you want, and they look pretty dope too. So I thought you said a binder, bro. I'm just going off of what you told me. Don't put them in a binder. That's all I'm trying to tell you. Okay. Let's see if we got any more. Tony P56, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Tony P56. Who writes, you can get out whenever. Ron is a safe/slow driver. I mean, that's one way to look at it. I at this point, I think Ron, we've seen the desperation from Ron. He's cussing and shit now, and I think Ron is stepping on the gas. He's pressing a bit. Literally, he's pressing the gas. He's pressing a bit. So I don't know. I don't know if you can just mosey on out of the whip. I think you're gonna jump out of that bitch on some passenger 57 shit, and you're gonna dive and roll like 6 times. But I'll be all right. If I have to get out, I got to get out some way, somehow. I could Cuban Gooden Jr. him and, hey, let me out. I said, let me out. I could do that, but I don't know if Ron's going to stop the car or not. Anyway, I digress. Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. Metaphor writes, seatbelt light gonna ding 4 times, wins with back belt on. Hey, these new cars, they let you know when the back belts aren't on either. So, I mean, we ain't in the newest model anyway, but just so you know, we're aware of who doesn't have their safety belt on and who does. But again, it's a lot of people in the whip. It's a lot of people that have gotten out. Like I said, there was somebody in the trunk. I didn't even know, we had somebody in the trunk. BD got out of the trunk. So at this point, there's a lot of sounds being made in the car from people taking off safety belts and trying to get out. It is what it is at this point. I just know I still got mine on. And I'm hoping that I can keep it on. So we'll see. DJ23, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. DJ23, who writes, with William Jackson III, it's difficult because last season was the same. He was bad, and then the second half of the season, he picked it up and played well. Facts. But there was an excuse behind that last year, which was, oh, man, he came here. He's primarily a man-covered corner. We play a ton of zone, so he's got to adjust to our scheme. And he reportedly got comfortable in the second half of the season, which he played a lot better. There's no denying that. And teams really didn't even throw his side at the back end of the season. And if they did, he actually was there making plays. So the penalty stopped. He started getting his hands on the football, knocking it away. And so that was encouraging. But a lot of the penalties we've seen this season, they're zone, but zone converts to man. So they're like man-to-man situations where he's running down the field. Like, there's no excuse for that. You know what I'm saying? But you're right. He did start off slow last year, and he might be just like Ron, start off slow and then finish strong. But you can't have too many dudes like that. That's part of the reason we're in the predicament that we're in right now. All right. Joe Rockhead J, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Joe Rockhead J, who writes, he spoke like a fan as if he wasn't a player now. He did. That's some shit a fan says. We see fans say that all the time. When we get infighting amongst family members, that's what fans say. Hey, you ain't no real fan. If you on that side, stay on that side. When we start winning, don't try to come back over here. That's what another fan would say to another fan, right? That they feel like switching sides, that's jumping ship, that want to flip. He was talking like a fan for a second there. I give you that. But again, that's more of a player's perspective, though. Less of a fan, but more of a player's perspective. Because players, that's how they internalize that. Like either you with us or you against us. Because really, those guys, they play for one another in that locker room. And as fans, we love to hear that we're a part of the reason why you're winning. It's just a psychological thing. We love to know that we had some part. We consider ourselves part of the fan. Like, there's this big discussion, and I remember once upon a time, this was a massive discussion about the usage of we versus they. Like, you're not out there running sprints, or as a wise man once said, but you wasn't with me shooting in the gym. Nah, we ain't out there running sprints with them. We're not out there practicing in the rain. We ain't in the training room getting taped up for an ankle injury that's been bothering us since week 2. It's week 7. Nah, we didn't do any of that stuff. We're not putting our bodies out on the line. But we feel like we're a part of the failures and success of this team each and every single week. We live, sleep, eat, breathe what goes on with this team. And we feel like we're a part of whatever happens. So it is we, at least for me. I'm going to always be a we guy. We. I pour a lot of shit into this. So yeah, we. But then there's some people like, I didn't see you out there on Sunday. Last time I checked. I didn't know you were on the roster. And that's cool if that's your opinion. I mean, if that's your perspective. I mean, I'm not going to knock it just because we don't see eye to eye on that. But that's not going to stop me from saying we. But at the same time, players, they play for one another in that locker room. Players adopt it's us against the world mentality. And that sometimes includes the fans. Just like the players don't trust the media. You know, they always say, yeah, we don't like y'all like to flip our words around and, this, that, and the third, right? Like, they feel the same way about the fans. Like, y'all will jump ship, turn on us on the drop of a hat. Like, y'all will rock with us. Y'all love us 1 minute, the next. And players love to speak in generalities. They like to, one of the things that frustrated me as a kid is when you're growing up, you got siblings, right? And I got 2 sisters. They're both older than I am. And if one of my sisters didn't do something, like say they had to clean the kitchen, wash the dishes, mop the floor, clean the counters before my mom got home from work. And she comes home, it's not done, she's pissed. We're all nasty. We all are lazy and we don't like to clean. I ain't got shit to do with her not doing her chore. I did my shit already. Why are you lumping me in with the rest of them? I ain't do nothing. Why I gotta be lazy? Why I gotta be nasty? That's what players do a lot of times. When they talk about the fans, they don't single out the fans that they're talking about. They just lump us all into one category. And again, I don't get bent out of shape about the shit because, again, I'm about the psychology of it. I know why they do it. But as a fan, your first inclination when you hear that is, how dare you? I've been supporting you for 30 years. He ain't talking about you, though. That's the thing. But he didn't specify who he was talking about. He actually did, though, in that comment. He said the fans that want to be talking, crazy and reckless on socials, the fans that take it too far, that be talking crazy. He specified that. But, again, you're going to hear what you want to hear. So, anyway, I digress. Tony P56, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. Tony P56 writes, if Turner played Madden, he'd run the same 5 weak-ass plays the whole game, then blame the controller as to why the plays aren't working. I think he would be a guy that would be stubborn, trying to force certain plays to work and not coming to grips with, hey, this shit is not getting it done. You got to figure out something else. And then blaming the remote. King of the North, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, King of the North, writes, I respect fellow fans, but the worst take hands down is the fans who complain about head coach's body language on the sideline. That's really what your big complaint is. Fans will pick at anything. They'll start to nitpick. When you don't like somebody, you'll find the stupidest thing to nitpick at. That's when you know, okay, you just don't like that person. You know, one of the best lines growing up with females was, she thinks she cute. What the hell does that mean? Like, it's one thing if she acting like, you know, she the best thing smoking on planet Earth, and she ain't got time for nobody, and, you know, she uppity. But this will be the nicest person you've ever met in your life. Ain't never done nothing to nobody. And she be like, I don't like her. She thinks she cute. You're like, what kind of an excuse is that? Like, what has she done to make you feel like she thinks she all that she thinks she cute? And they'll never have a reason, you know, but that's just because they don't like that person. They don't have a reason they don't like that person. They just don't like that person. So that's the reason they're giving you. When you don't like somebody, you'll find anything about that person and you'll just nitpick at that. You know, you start looking for stuff. And I mean, that's the psychology of things. That, you know, that, again, if somebody were to step to me and be like, Ron is so stoic on the sidelines, he doesn't care, I'm gonna go, okay, cool. I don't have anything else to say to that person. Clearly, they don't like Ron. And if that's the biggest gripe you got, if that's even a gripe, it doesn't even have to be your biggest gripe. If that's a gripe, like, those two things don't go with one another. Like, they're not synonymous. Like, being a great head coach is being fired up on the sideline. Not all great head coaches are fired up on the sideline. Some coaches are just as stoic as they can possibly. And then some guys fly off the handle. That's just their personality. There's no handbook on how you're supposed to look. But again, I go back to my original statement. If somebody says that, that just means they don't like Ron. And, you know, that's one of the reasons they decided to use. Joe Rockhead J, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Joe Rockhead J writes, I'm locked in with Ron's plan to avoid Dan's plan. Well, there's no avoiding Dan's plan. Whether you rock with Ron's plan or not, Dan's plan is the plan that we've been on for the last 30 years. And unless something drastic happens, we'll be on for the next 30 years. So I don't know if there's any a way around that. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, our players are more Bush than 70s porn stars. Again, I have nothing to say there. They need to be better, period. Everybody needs to be better. And I'm more hopeful this week than I was last week. That's not saying much. The bar was extremely low after the third game of the season versus the Eagles. So I see the path to victory. I couldn't see one after the Eagles game, which is why I didn't pick us to win against the Cowboys. I've seen some things, and I see a path to victory this week. So I'm more encouraged than I was the week previous. But that only takes you so far. They actually got to go out on the field and execute and get it done. Find a way to win a damn football game and stop this 3-game losing streak before it goes to 4, then 5, then 6, and then the chance for Ron's job. Did you see the report today? I'm pretty sure y'all saw that barring an epic collapse, Ron Rivera is safe as head coach. I already told y'all he's not getting fired. And trust me when I tell you, we are not heading for an epic collapse. These players are not going to quit on Ron, and Ron's going to continue to to get the most out of these guys in terms of 7 and 10 and 8 and 9, that's not enough to get them fired. So just so you know. Mr. Liberty, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, I'm already in my Uber. See you, Ron. Oh, you got out and you got an Uber. Okay. I ain't mad at you. I'm not mad at you. Diehard Giants fan. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. He said he's already in his Uber. No sports. Favorite music genre, decade. Clearly, I've stated this many times. It's not even close. I am an R&B guy through and through. Anything from the 80s and 90s, definitely the 90s, but I'm an 80s baby. So 80s as well. Sign me up. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Early 90s R&B, late 80s R&B. You can't beat it. But I go as far back as the 70s too. I don't do the 60s, but I'm a 70s guy as well. 80s. Love me some R&B, man. Love it, love it, love it. Tony P56, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Tony P56 writes, if Ron is punching the gas, this whip is slow as F. It's loud, but it ain't going nowhere. I told you it wasn't the newest whip. I told you that. All right. I told you that. It's not the newest whip. And it don't go from 0 to 60, in 2 seconds, right? But it gets you from point A to point B, or at least it did before. I can't say that about it right now, but it's moving. That's all I know. All right. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. Big Money Sonny writes, I gotta admit that binder comment I made definitely showed my age. Yeah, it did. Big time. He says, salutes though. Appreciate the info. I'll find the case. Good luck. And hopefully you find a good one. Let's see. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. Big Money Sonny writes, salutes to Mega for this one. Ron digs holes, then wants respect for trying to get us out of them. So true. So true. So, that's like a hero complex where you start like an arsonist who starts fires and then puts them out, or, they look like the hero because they call the fire department. They come out. There are people who suffer from that, where they want the attention. They want to look like a good person, like a good Samaritan. There is a bit of that, but understand, when the problems were they ran deep before Ron got here. So Ron, he even said it today, like, I want to bring this organization back. He knows the rich history. He played against, the Gibbs coach teams, the 1.0 teams that were, absolutely dynamite back in the 80s. When he was a part of the 85 Bears, in 86 and all of that, they had to go through Washington. They had to play Washington. They lost to Washington in 84, and so Ron is aware of what RFK was, what this fan base was. That's part of what brought him here, but I don't think he understood when he took the job what it had become. But he was really interested in restoring it. And, when a lot of people come here, Mike Shanahan did the same thing. They don't ever realize what they're getting themselves into, because Dan Snyder seems like he's a really good salesman. All right. If nothing else, because he sold Joe Gibbs on coming back here 2.0 somehow, some way. Still don't know how he did that. He got Mike Shanahan to come here. And then he got Ron Rivera to come here. which seemed very unlikely after the whole Bruce Allen saga and where we were as an organization. But every one of those dudes, minus Joe. Joe's in a category onto himself. He can never be topped in this organization. He'll always be the king of kings as a head coach in this organization. That said, I do think that there's an allure here for the guy that brings this organization back to prominence. He'll go down in history as one of the greatest figures in Washington sports history, right next to Joe Jackson Gibbs. And so if somebody can dig this organization that was once as respected as any organization in all of sports and bring it back to where it once was, that man deserves a statue. And there are coaches that in most coaches and players, they have an ego. They think they're the guy. They're immune to all the shit that has gone on here. They're immune to Dan Snyder's shit. They can fix this. Give me an opportunity, I'll show you. And then they get here and they get saddled with all the Dan shit off the field. And then you realize, damn, I'm in over my head. This shit is a lot worse than I thought. Really thought I could handle this. Mike Shanahan found out firsthand. Ron's figuring that out right now. I can't tell you how many times Ron has said, I would love it if this was just about football. It's not. It's never about just football here in Washington. That's a part of the gig. That's why you fail here. That's why everyone fails here. It's never just about football. If it were, then you'd have more success. But it's never just about football here. It's always something going on. Always. And they'll always be away until Daniel Snyder's no longer the owner. So, he's dug holes, but there have been holes here for decades. Year after year, there's new holes every year being dug. He personally digs the hole for that particular season. Yeah. 1-5, 2-6, 2-7 at one point in 2020, 2-6 at one point in 2021. Yeah, his teams always seem to dig themselves a nice hearty hole before, digging themselves or trying to, dig themselves out. What the hell does that even mean? You dig yourself a hole and then you dig yourself out of the hole. How do you dig yourself out of the hole? Can you just, don't you just climb out of the hole or try to? If you continue to dig, how are you going up? Aren't you going down? I don't know. What am I talking about? Don't ask. Stop asking. I don't know. Hunter Hodovic, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Hunter Hodovic writes, "Sup, T? Sup, Hunter?" Says, "Sorry I got here so late. No needs to apologize at all whatsoever." He says, "Hope the stream's been great and all is well." Has been. Says, "Gotta say, T, this team's got me nervous going all the way out to Philly." Are you going to the game in week 10? We'll see. A lot of Eagles fans been trash talking me, and I deserve it. I was talking a lot of shit before the season started. I don't run from any of it. There'll be a super friend stream coming here shortly. I kind of want to split the season into thirds, so we'll be doing it here shortly. Hopefully we've gotten more wins by then, but even if we don't, I'm not running from it. But, the funny thing is we still got the Eagles one more time. I'm not looking forward to it. I'm not going to lie to you. And we got to go to the link. And if Carson's starting, then it could be really ugly. But we still got time to turn it around before we play them again. So I want to see what everything looks like by the time we get there. But, I hope some shit changed because we played 2 NFC East games. We don't play another NFC East game until that Eagles game. And we don't have the Giants until weeks 13 and 15. We don't have the Cowboys until the final week of the season. So we don't play another NFC East opponent until week 10 against the Eagles. So we got essentially 6 weeks to clean our shit up, get our act together. Weeks 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then it's Philadelphia 6 weeks from now in week 10. Hopefully we figured out some shit by then. Because I really can't take another ass whooping to the Eagles. That first one was enough. Lord, the amount of noise we will hear if they beat us, they sweep us, we got to hear the shit for a whole nother offseason. But if they whoop our ass like they did the first time on national television, which amplifies it, because that's a Monday night game, we'll never hear the end of that shit. So I hope they get their shit together before then. I'll just say that. Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Metaphor writes, flip the whip. I'm too legit to quit. I got them fighter jet shoulder belts on. He says, helmet too, of course. Expecting a crash, hoping for a sonic boom. Sonic boom! I'm not expecting a crash, but I'll be prepared. Tony P56, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, felt like Allen got out of pocket and Junkie saved him. A bit. I think he got in his feelings a little bit. And you never know what somebody's going through or what he encountered. Somebody might have said some crazy shit to him just the other day. And it prompted him to feel that way and say what he said. You never know. You can never tell why somebody feels or says the things that they say or do the things that they do. I can just tell you that, again, as a fan, I would advise any player, any coach, to never get into a verbal spat with fans or to ever get into anything with the fan base, because it's just counterproductive and you can't win as a player, especially with an organization like this. It's just, there's no reason to put yourself in that predicament. Just leave it alone. Take the high road. As a player, just take the high road, because you need the fans. Here's the thing. You can't alienate the people, the very people that you want to come out and support you. Even if you're not getting the support that you want. And again, you guys control that. Win. Do something to make us come to the games. You can't expect people to just show up off of sheer faith and goodwill. What goodwill have you earned? Where's the equity you've built up with us so that we can still come out and support? There is none. That shit is gone. You have to build that up. So the Junkies definitely saved him at the end. That was I think that was their expertise. That was their over 20 years of experience kicking in and saying, hey, this shit is. And look, they like Jonathan. He's a guy that contributes to their show every week. What you don't want to do is have this thing blow up and have the fans turn on him and he feels like, oh, I got set up by the Junkies, or I'm not doing this shit anymore. So I thought it was a good save by them as well. Chauncey Davis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. OG, triple OG, writes, Lou, Chauncey, we don't have any dogs on D. Yeah. We got Augs. We got no D. No D there. Augs. We don't have dogs. We got Augs. I told y'all I was watching a film and Kendall Fuller went to go make a play, right? And I'm watching this thing. And I told y'all, watching it live after the game on the post-game show, I said, it reminded me of the week prior with Bobby McCain against the Eagles, where I'm watching it live on TV and I'm like, oh shit, we got about to get a pick. At a bare minimum, this is about to be a collision, and it's definitely not a catch. But I know Kendall Fuller. He's not looking for violence. He's looking for the rock. That's what I prefer. A lot of football players are cavemen. They prefer violence. I myself, I want the ball. You know, a lot of players, they'll have a blindside shot at the quarterback, and they rather go rock the quarterback and have him hold on to the ball and then get up and celebrate like they've just done something. I'd much rather you do the shit that Reggie White did to us. I'm dying to see, like, if I played football, this was something that I always thought about. If I get a corner blitz on the backside and the quarterback doesn't know I'm coming, I will go and snatch the ball out of the quarterback's hand. I won't even touch him. Snatch the ball out of his hand and just run. Take that shit and go. Much faster than slow. And just haul ass. But they want the kill shot. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in the rock coming out. So Reggie White just took the damn ball from, I think it was Jay Schroeder. Just took the shit from him and hauled ass. Scored a touchdown. Give me that bitch. And just ran. I would do that. That's the shit I would do. I'm not interested in hitting you. I just want the ball. I thought Kendall Fuller was going to pick it off, and then he falls down. I watched that at least 10 times. Are you kidding me? Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Metaphor writes, I got that Project 69 stamp collection. Stamp book? Chauncey Davis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Who writes, 1 interception in 4 games. Derek Forrest. Chauncey, it's not even 1 interception in 4 games. It's 1 turnover. There ain't a fumble or nothing. It's 1 turnover in 4 games. That's what makes this just hard to stomach. We turning this shit over multiple times a game. You know, we turning this shit over 2-3 times a game, every game. But we ain't getting none in return. You want to know why we 1-3? That's one of the reasons right there. We sharing that shit. But we ain't getting nothing in return. It's charity over here, man. Sovereign Legacy. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, has Ron ever lost 4 in a row? I don't think he has. I can't say if he has or not. I'm not sure about that. I would guess that he has at some point in his career. Hell, he's lost 4 in a row. He did it last year with us. And he did it the year before that with us. Yeah, that's definitely yes. We won the first game of the season last year, in his first year here in 2020. We won the first game against the Eagles. We then proceeded to lose the next 5. Last year, we won we were 2-2. We won, 2 out of our first 4. We were 2-2, and then we lost 4 in a row, and we were 2-6 going into our bye week. So yeah, well, Ron's definitely lost 4 games. Hell, 5 in one of the seasons, and then I'm trying to think. Last year when we were 6-6, we lost 4 in a row after that. We were 6-10, and then we won the final game against the Giants and finished 7-10. So yeah, he's done that multiple times. Hunter Hotovit, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, yeah, my bros and Eagles fans, so we got tickets for Carson's return to Philly. Flying out November 11th. Just hoping I'm not flying into a suite. Amen. I'll be praying for you, man. And again, our whole mindset about this team and how we feel about that game in November could change drastically by the time we get there, which is what I've been telling all the Eagles fans. It's like, okay, we'll see. We might really be ass by the time we get there, and you might do us even more dirty the next time, and you might be playing with even more confidence than you're playing with right now, and the shit could get way worse. Or we could be a much better team We're playing with a level of confidence that we didn't possess early in the season, and that could be a totally different game. We'll see. A lot of time between then and now, so I don't want to preoccupy myself with that. But good luck with that, bro. Probably going to need it. Probably going to need that one, Hunter. Enjoy, though. Enjoy, if nothing else. Let's see. Brandon J, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Brandon J, writes, what's good, Lou? It's good, Brandon. Love the content, my guy. I really do appreciate that, Brandon. Says, that being said, I need your team to get it together so we can be the best division in the NFL again. Tired of that NFC least BS national media has been talking. Well, they're not talking it right now because everybody in the division, except for us, as I've noted, is playing good ball. Dallas is 3-1, Giants are 3-1, Eagles are 4-0. So the only thing that we're stopping everyone from doing is making it the consensus best division in football right now. But I wish we were better too. I've talked about wanting this division to be good again, wanting us to be a part of the reason it's good again, and having iron sharpen iron. And everybody got the memo except us, apparently. So we didn't get the memo, so we're not actually partaking in the changing of the narrative, so to speak. But hey, everybody else is, so good for them. I wish we were more involved in the process of changing the narrative from the NFC least to the NFC beast. But it looks like the Cowboys, Eagles, and Giants are holding it down. So yeah, there's that. But Brandon, I too wish we were better. I'll say that. Jamal Hamlin, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Jamal writes, Lou, as always, thank you for providing an outlet for us. With that being said, Fuller and Jackson the third are shook, scared to death, scared to look. They shook. Ain't no such things as halfway crooks. You already know what it is. We talked about this already. It's frustrating, man, because every week it seems like either one or two of those boys is getting cooked, son. Yeah, they shook once. I've said this already tonight. I'll say it again. Cornerback is our biggest need on this football team. Cornerback is our biggest need on this football team. As we sit here on October the 6th, heading into week 5, cornerback is our biggest need on this team. That could change. It's subject to change, as it always is. But right now, cornerback's the biggest need on this team, if you ask me. Obviously, independent of quarterback. Quarterback always supersedes any other position. But we don't know what Sam Howell is. So I'm just gonna take quarterback out of the equation for now and say that any non-quarterback related cornerback is the most I think desperate position on this roster right now. Brandon J, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Brandon J writes, last thing, we need that family reunion with LB, Law, and Bad Dog. Wellness check, as LB called it. Eagles need an L. Hopefully we take them down. Y'all are our last hope in week 6. I can't tell you the last time I rooted for the Cowboys. I will be rooting like hell for y'all next week against the, and I think if I'm not mistaken, that's a Sunday night game. I will be rooting like hell for y'all to beat the Eagles on Sunday Night Football. I hope Dak's back from the injury. I do not want Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush has done a great job of keeping y'all afloat. I do not want Cooper Rush playing against the Eagles. I need Dak to be back for that game. I need him to be gripping the football by then. And I need him to get out there. I need y'all to be relatively healthy, and I need y'all to take care of the Eagles. I think they could lose this week at Arizona, to be honest with you, but I don't trust the Cardinals. If they had DeAndre Hopkins, I might be inclined to give them a shot, but the Cardinals make too many mistakes. I don't see them beating the Eagles, but we'll see. I'll be rooting for y'all. Tony P56, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Tony P writes, Grind my gears to hear turnovers come in spurts. Boy, that's their favorite line, ain't it? Sacks and turnovers, they both come in bunches. They both come in spurts. That's Jack Del Rio's favorite line. Boy, he be lying his ass off. We didn't get sacks in bunches last year. Them shits ain't never come. We didn't get turnovers last year. Them shits ain't never come neither. So, but again, you know, that's their favorite line. They're going to keep rocking with it. Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Metaphor writes, don't worry, Ryan Pantyhill gonna fumble Sunday. I'm not talking no shit. None. Because as much as I like to clown Ryan Tannehill, and I really don't clown him that much anymore, but as much as I like to clown him, they had the best record in the AFC last year and the number 1 seed. And you could say, well, it wasn't because of Ryan Tannehill. Well, he's got a part in it. It ain't just Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry missed the back end of the season. All right. Somebody had to step up, and it was Ryan Tannehill. It wasn't always Ryan Tannehill, but he's gotten the job done for them, even when it's in a managing the game capacity, just like it was on Sunday. Manage the game, don't turn it over, make throws when they're there. I ain't going to say shit. Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Metaphor writes, be sure to check your email, Lou. It's crucial. All right, we'll see. Don't be trying to get me on some BS, on some luck shit. Told you I'm up here. Everything is a hoax these days. I'm watching all of y'all. Anyway, I digress. All right, so that looks like the last super chat. And so let's go ahead and get us to the close screen. Another great episode of CNN. Really, truly appreciate y'all chopping it up with the kid. We'll talk more about the Tennessee Titans tomorrow. We'll really start to dig in, go behind enemy lines, really talk about what it's going to take to get a win against these Titans, man. They're there for the taking, but again, we thought the same thing about the Lions, the Eagles, not so much the Cowboys, at least not for me, but we've said this before. And until we actually win, everybody's there for the taking, but are you good enough to go and take it? We'll see. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Big Money Sonny writes, that's sad we're rooting for Dallas now, Lou. That being said, Alex, can I get what is that? Is that a peanut on his chin and tonsils? Alex can get nut on his chin and tonsils. I don't, again, pause. I don't know what that's about. I'm gonna just put a pause in there just in case. That said, yeah, I'm rooting for Dallas to beat the Eagles. One, because the Eagles need to be, brought back to earth. They shouldn't be the only undefeated team in the league. They're good. They're not that good. Two, I don't want anybody running away with this division, right? Like, I'm not saying that we're going to be in the mix when it's all said and done. Far from it. But if we do decide to get our shit together at some point and we decide to get hot, I'd like the division to still be within shouting distance. So only way that's going to happen, because the Giants are going to come back to earth. All right. We've already seen in the first 4 games what they are. They're a good defensive football team. If you can't score points, you're going to have a tough time defeating the Giants. And they've beaten 3 teams that have a tough time scoring points in Tennessee, Chicago, and Carolina. If you can score points, you can beat the Giants. They're going to run into some teams like they could beat Green Bay over in London on Sunday. Absolutely, they can. But the likelihood is they won't. They won't. So They got the Ravens coming up too, if I'm not mistaken. And then they get Seattle, and that looked like a win before the season started. But all of a sudden now, I don't know. We'll see. They'll come back to the earth, right? They'll come back crashing down to earth. It's Dallas and Philadelphia that could easily run away because, again, the schedule, I said this before the season started. If Jalen Hurts doesn't suck, and Jalen Hurts doesn't suck right now, if he doesn't suck, the Eagles can win 13 games. I've been on record as saying that multiple times. Eagles fans will tell you that I'm a hater and, this, that, and the third. Fine. But the facts are what they are. And I've said it multiple times. The only reason I said this is the best roster in the division. I might have argued several times, we got the best receiver, we got the best running back. But overall, their roster is better. Period. That's not a discussion. They got a better offensive line. They got better corners. They have better safety play. They're better than we are. Period. There were only specific areas that I would pick out. They got better tight ends than we do. There were only specific areas that I would try to look to and say, hey, we got a better this than you do. But it wasn't much. My biggest gripe with them was always the quarterback position. Well, he's playing well. So they're playing well. So, yeah, I am rooting for Dallas. Because the Eagles could easily run away with this thing and hide. I'm not rooting for Dallas every week. But for that week, yeah, I'll be rooting for the Cowboys. Doesn't happen often. Tony P56, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, who writes, I broke my DAC. I broke my DAC. I like that one. John Graves III, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. JG3 writes, appreciate you hanging with me on the night shift, Lou, but I hear your voice. Go grab some fisherman's friend or some throat coat and deuces. I'm good over here, man, but I am thirsty. I should have brought me some water over here, but I'm tripping. I never bring water, and I always tell myself to bring water, but I never do. Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T. I appreciate you guys chopping it up with me. Look forward to kicking it with y'all tomorrow on the show. I'll be live for the Thursday night game. It's not a great game, but I'll be live anyway. And then Friday, LouieTeeNetwork podcast, and obviously another episode of CNN. We'll give our predictions for the game, so and so, on and on. So with that said, I really do appreciate y'all kicking it with me, hanging in with me this late. It's still over 330 of you out there at 1:30 in the morning on the East Coast. You guys are effing awesome. You guys take care. God bless. And as always, good night.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20. He's gone. He's gone.